What up, man? What up, everyone? Happy almost New Year, end of 2020. I don't know what's more of a celebration, that there's a new year or that 2020 is over. I don't know how people are doing it.
Bro. Did you see my 2021, dog?
Yeah, 2021. I think I'm just started off right away with what I think about 2020. I think it was the best year that I've had in a super long time. And it pisses a lot of people off when I say that, but it was a great year for me. And like, for a while, I was honestly guilty to say it. I felt guilty saying it because everyone's like talking about their misery and obviously a lot of shitty stuff.
Of course.
But like, for me, it was a great year. And I was like, why do I have to feel guilty about having a great year just because it wasn't great for everyone?
Correct. It's all personal interpretation and fucking experience, right? Like, you can make your reality what it is, and that's fucking great. I think that you've done a really great job of that in your life, just in general. Like, fucking 2020 was fucking terrible for me. So like, yeah, for fucking sure. But I'm glad you had a good one. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, it was a terrible year, because it's all a matter of personal experience and relation.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think you had a lot of good stuff. Like, your business is doing awesome. Like, training is crazy. You became a celebrity on TikTok. Like, you got that going for you.
It's been pretty crazy. And I think, like, after I took my big long social media break at the beginning of the year, I took 6 months off social media, and I just came back with more fire than I ever had before. Like, in a better way, though. You know, last year I was like, around this time, I was like, I'll knock your teeth down your throat. And it wasn't very acceptable. And this year, I'm more so trying to produce content that's more edgy and alternative and hip and fresh and modern. And that's going to appeal to, you know, not just the old guard of dog training. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. For anyone who actually is tuning in who doesn't know who either of us are, I'll introduce myself real quick because I usually do that in the beginning. My name is Nachum Russell, or Russ. Jonas can say my name, but that's cool. None of you could. And this is Mr. Steal Your Girl, apparently, tonight. Jonas Black. And if you don't know who he is, then I don't know. You're not on TikTok or something. But last time you were on my podcast, which was a couple months back, it was like towards the beginning of COVID stuff.
Yep.
COVID became like a way of telling time. So it was the beginning of COVID, I think, when you were on, and that was your first time coming back on social media.
Yep, absolutely.
And you took this big break, and now you kind of came back with a bang. Like, can you talk a little bit about what leaving did for you, coming back, that whole experience? Because I've never taken a break from social media, so I don't even know what that's like.
So in the beginning of the year, I was slandered by a dog trainer, and it hit me really hard emotionally. Because, like, I love what I do, and I know that I'm one of the best at what I do. And, like, it hit me really, really hard on a level that I didn't think it would hit me. And I became incredibly depressed, and I became incredibly, like, mentally unstable. And I needed to take that time off of social media to get my shit back together. And I did more work on myself during that time. I went to therapy. I got a communication coach. I tried to better myself as much as I could for myself. And what I learned during that time was incredible, was that I didn't need social media to, and I'm in a blessed position here, that I didn't need social media to further my business or to further my intake, right? Like, it was just like this incredible thing where the business boomed during COVID, and I had zero social media presence. And then it just reaffirmed and gave me so much vindication in the fact that, like, my work, because I know who I am on social media, right? Like, I know that I'm eccentric as fuck. I know that I'm unlike anybody in the dog training world, and I'm extremely polarizing, and people are either going to love what I do or they're going to fucking hate what I do. And there is no in between. Like, everybody in the comments, because I'm watching the comments right now on my phone, is like, everybody will tell you that if you mention my name to another dog trainer, one of two things will happen. And it's, I love that guy, or I fucking hate that guy. And I thought that was one of the reasons why I was getting so much business traffic, right? Because of the way that I am on social media. And I needed to test it, and I needed to see if I'm actually doing the work that I thought that I was doing. And by being off of social media and getting all these new clients just for the word of mouth here locally, it was such a vindicating thing. And it gave me the inspiration and the fuel to get back onto social media and continue what I'm doing, but turned up to 11, but still tuned down a little bit in in aggression, right? So like ridiculous antics will always be a part of me. That's just who the fuck I am. I'm a fucking troll by nature, and that's just it. But the work needs to speak for itself. And if anybody has seen my TikTok, it's one of these like everything's very eccentric, but everything is like strategized to where I show a huge aggression rehabilitation, and then we build brand, and then it's aggression rehabilitation, and then we build brand. So that way, like I suck in a different crowd, and I hit the people. I feel like that I speak for a lot of people who are afraid to speak out, and like, and I get those messages every single day on my social media platforms where people are like, I wish I could say the way you say shit with the confidence that you say shit. And people think that I'm so like, you know, water on a duck's back, water off a duck's back. I'm not. Like when people say stuff, like it affects me, but I still think that it needs to be said. And I think that like I can handle it. And if there's any pushback, I would rather be the one to take it that has an established business than those trainers who are trying to make themselves online right now. You know what I mean?
So a lot of trainers follow you, I know, and look up to you and respect you. And how do you deal with hate? Because I know that you're obviously you get a lot of it because you're loud and you put everything in people's faces. But I think that most balance trainers who show any bit of their work, and I know you don't like the term balance, but we're just going to use it. Most trainers who show work really on any end of the spectrum, who show work, are going to get hate on social media, right? How do you handle it?
How do I handle it? I have 8,000 dogs that were supposed to be euthanized underneath my belt. And that's how I handle it. Like, it's just one of those things where we're like, I don't have a problem knowing that I'm good. I have always, because I was a social reject growing up, I've always sought the approval of others. And that's still one of my like crazy triggers in my life is like I have to work through when people don't like me, right? Like, but I'm one of these polarizing figures where it's like not everybody's going to like me. So I live in this like crazy vicious cycle of like, well, people are either going to love me or hate me, but I hate when people hate me.
Right.
But the way that I deal with it is that I know that at the end of the day, in Austin, Texas, which is brick and mortar, tangible results, I've changed the market. All the cool people come to me, like all the big Austin like names, they come to me. They set the tone for what the markets are. And I did it by doing it the way I do it. And everything that I do is big and epic. And I think that most people in the balanced world who hate me just wish they had the balls that I had. I think that, and with the pure positive hate, it's a little different. That I actually go to therapy because I feel like that they gaslight. Because I'm sitting here going, yo, I got these dogs rehabilitated and I have some of the best results in the industry. And what ends up happening is they go, well, that didn't work. And then I go home and I'm like, oh my God, did it not work? Like, yeah. I actually take that shit seriously, even though these dogs are well behaved. So I started therapy. So because of the way that I am and choose to be, the way that I handle hate is I go to therapy. Because otherwise it would kill me.
I think it's an important thing to speak about, especially because I know that a lot of trainers listen to you, respect you. I know there's a lot of trainers who probably are going to watch this tonight. And there's in general, whether it's a training thing or just people using social media to promote themselves, a brand, a business, it's a world of hate out there on social media. It's crazy, right? Absolutely. And a lot of what I've seen, a lot of the message that's pushed out there is like, let it roll off of you, or like, kind of like, don't let it bother you. And I think that's kind of an unfair statement to say, because it's like you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your work out there. With the fireworks. 1 second. Wesley, come on, buddy. I have a very nervous dog here.
Great time.
Entertain them for a second. I'm going to put a leash on him and let him hang out with me.
All right, guys. Here's a bottle of Jameson. It's about half full. Let's get fucking wasted before he comes back. Ready? Here we go.
Come on, sweetheart. Now I'm gonna go place. One. Good. Place. Okay. Down.
All gone. All gone.
Did you finish it?
I just chugged half a bottle of Jameson.
I know. I heard what you were saying.
Like, that was entertainment.
They don't usually do fireworks in my area on thing on whatever this is, New Year's Eve. So I wasn't expecting that, but this guy got a little sketchy about it, so he'll hang with me.
Oh, it's gonna get wild.
No, it is, guys. I think for Jonas is gonna be the one in charge of the drinking game. So every time that Jonas says "fuck" is one shot.
I have to go get. Oh shit! Fuck that. I'll play along. I have a really high tolerance because I'm a maniac. So, that's a lot of Jameson. Give me about 20 minutes before we get back to it, though.
Yeah. So I'm gonna drink water to keep the balance of this, because it's all about balance, right?
I'm gonna have my Zevia Cola. Have you had?
What are those? I see so many people drinking them.
It's just sweetened. It's just using stevia as sweetener.
It's just bullshit. It's like fake soda. Got you.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel like you're healthy when you drink soda.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. But you know what's really funny is that a lot of people, like, they think in regards to me that I'm uneducated and unrefined, but I pose you this question, sir. Would an unrefined swine smoke a corn cob pipe, huh?
I haven't seen one of those in a long ass time.
Mm?
The question is, what are you smoking?
It is Bagpiper's Dream.
Oh, okay.
You
were serious about that.
It's a cognac blend, thank you.
So, guys, help me out in the comments. How's this drinking game going? Every time Jonas says "fuck" is one shot.
Yeah.
What's your big word that you always say? Conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 shots, because it's not going to be as common as fuck. So conjecture is 2 shots. Who's playing along with this drinking game? We need one more to it. Help us out, Jonas.
I'll do it. I'll play.
So it's fuck, conjecture, and what's the third one?
Idiot.
I
say idiot a lot. So,
all right, so fuck is 1 shot, idiot is 2 shots, conjecture is 3, because that's not as common. But once you get into the dog training shit, that's when you try to sound smart and you use that word a lot.
I'm not smart at all. Not smart at all. But I do want to commend you on something. So, like, just so like everybody knows, Russ has undergone an amazing like journey this year of like learning and like trying to become an even better dog trainer than he actually is. And it's just been like incredible to see somebody that's hungry for knowledge, like in particular, because I was very much that way. Still am that way. I love whenever I see shit that I don't understand, like to learn about it and then take or leave it as it is. I think Danny Wells in the comments. I love you, Danny. I love you, Danny. With try Rowan codes beast and I'm currently puking my ring up. Perfect.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, no.
It's been like New Year's for him for a while. What do? They play Beatles songs and sit around the campfire or some shit?
They sing Beatles songs. They sit around Stonehenge and pour gravy on all the vegetables in England. That's what they do. But like, I just want to commend you on your journey this year, because I feel like that you've grown as a dog trainer and you've learned a lot. Like, I think it's pretty amazing. I think this year for a lot of dog trainers that I've helped out in particular has become the year of the, how do you put it? The year of realizing that you're not a dog whisperer. Like, and that's like that's like one of those things that like I can relate to, because whenever I first started out, my clients were like, "Oh, you're a fucking dog whisperer," and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm a dog whisperer." Like,
I hate it. I hate hearing that.
Yeah, but like, what ends up happening is that a lot of people now, like, they take that shit seriously and they take that shit to their ego, right? But every fucking dog trainer, whether you're pure positive or whatever the fuck it is, you get called that a million times a week. You know, like you get called that all the fucking time. And I think it's about keeping humble within the craft. And I do my best, and I know you do also, to keep the artisanship inside the craft of dog training, the art of dog training, the way we represent ourselves as business. But the craft is approached by me with the utmost of integrity and respect always, every single day. And I always want to reassure people that I don't get the results on aggression that I do because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing and I'm just a clown. Like the results are there because I take this shit seriously. The way that I choose to be is just who I am, and I like to have a good time.
I've realized that you like when people think you're stupid, because you like the shock value of them seeing what you can do.
I do. I absolutely love when people think I'm stupid, because like, and I can see why they think I'm stupid. Like it makes sense to me, and it's okay. But whenever they undervalue who I am and try to come after me, it's like, no, I'm very well educated on a plethora of topics. Bunny, the talking dog, is the latest victim of that. And I called.
All right, let's explain what it is. Not everyone knows what it is. Bunny the talking dog is a TikTok account. It's been going crazy on social media for like 2 years, I think, already, but Bunny's the big one. Of these buttons, you guys can all go look it up on YouTube and TikTok. You shouldn't, it's a waste of time, but you could. It's these buttons that the dog is trained to press, and each button makes a different word. It has like a sound, someone recorded a word for it, and the dog makes sentences and communicates with the owner what it wants to do and when it wants to do it, and it's supposed to be a really beautiful form of dog communicating with the human. I'm trying to say it as well as I can. Like, I'll let you shit on it. I'm just trying to explain what they think they're doing. Essentially, they're training dogs to press buttons, and every so often it formulates a sentence that might work, because if you take 30 words and put them together and do them randomly, every so often it's going to make a proper sentence. So if you record it and put it online, it looks like you've actually gotten a dog to make a sentence.
Yes. So I called out this the owner of the dog. Well, I didn't really call it out. I just gave my opinion on it in the way that I do, right? Which is just like always over the top and epic, and that's the way I do things, and that's that. If you don't like it, fucking unfollow me. And like what ended up happening is I said, hey, like, here is the reason why this dog isn't talking, right? Here's the reason why this dog isn't talking. It's because the sample sizes that are picked, or the samples that are picked, are cherry picked clearly, and they're interpreted by the human. Like, there's no way in fuck that if you work with dogs that you think for a second that a dog can interpret a concept such as the word how, why, or yesterday. Like, think about that for a second. Like, there's no way in fuck that a dog knows like how to ask how. Y'all drinking? Y'all drinking? I just got to plug in my laptop because
Jonas is saying fuck a bunch of times because you guys should be drunk by now. Yeah, the whole thing is nonsense. For people in the comments who, I think Christina over here said that Jonas is not saying he supports it. To clarify, he says he thinks it's total nonsense. To get to the point real quick, it's absolutely fake. Dogs don't communicate by pressing buttons. If I blindfold you and put 30 buttons in front of you, and every time you press one, I give you a shot, Jonas, because that's what's going to work for you. And then eventually, after you pressing enough of them in an order, you're going to get a sentence, because they're not using like really complicated words. They're using words that will work together in a sentence. So if you put the, and then you put dad, and then you put home, and you have a bunch of other ones, every so often the dog will click the dad home, and he's not telling you that the dad is home. It's just that's what happens when you use a bunch of buttons in a random order.
Well, the true smoke and mirror behind it, and it's behind the abstract concepts, is, let's say it's dad home, right? So let's say the dog dad home, and then presses how. And then the person goes, oh, you want to know how dad got home? And that's how they fucking trick you. And so here's the thing. The owner responded to me saying that the study is garbage, right? Like, if we can't get Coco the gorilla to adequately read sign language and to sign, there's no way a dog is able to have that amount of fucking comprehension, right? So she responded to me, and I responded back, and I said, your representation of this study is so unethical. And this is a true story as to why I even called out this study. The representation of the study is so unethical because the larger sample size has been admitted by the university to be gibberish, where the dog just walks up to the board and goes, this, and just fucking hits this over and over and over again, and it makes no fucking sense. That is the predominant sample size across 1,200 dogs in this study is gibberish garbage, right? Gibberish bullshit. But because cameras are on all the time, they're able to cherry pick what they're going to represent the study with. So what they do is they represent the study with the fucking sentences that they're able to interpret, and they post that on social media, even though they've admitted that the predominant majority of what's being sampled is gibberish. So they're being completely unethical, and there's such confirmation bias. And you know what this reminds me of? Pure positive studies.
Yeah.
With confirmation bias, because yesterday I had a client fucking email me and ask me if I could train their dog to use a soundboard and if that would help with the dog biting, because she's afraid that the dog isn't getting its needs met. And I almost puked, because this is, and you brought this up, Russ, it's about money. They're trying to sell soundboards. That's all this is. and and they're pioneering it into a new way of fucking training dogs, and the confirmation bias is there, which is why there's no boundaries or like laws on how they can represent the samples that they're giving, right? And like, it's so misconstrued and it's scary as fuck. And the anthropomorphism, that's 2 shots. We might as well do 2 shots for anthropomorphism.
Yeah, somebody said that one in the comments.
Katie did. Anthropomorphism of this study is disgusting, and it's going to end up getting dogs killed, because at some point there'll be somebody who goes, well, the dog can talk and still bites me.
Right. Is there, have you seen this study? Like, is it an actual study, or it's something that Bunny's mom made up?
It's a study that's in progress right now. I actually emailed the university.
Like, I'm waiting to see that one.
Like, if the university emails me back, I asked to see, because it's a public university, so I want to see the data collected and the amount of buttons pushed in which order.
Right.
They have all these data because the boards send the information, I guess. I don't know quite how it works, but they get the information from the buttons pushed. But the craziest shit was that I watched a video with this dog who supposedly talks through buttons, and the dog accidentally hit 2 buttons with her rear legs, with her rear feet, and they counted it as a sentence. And I was like, I can't.
The whole thing to me just goes right back to the total disrespect that people have for dogs.
Yeah.
Of like, for what? Why are you trying to treat it like a human? Why are you trying to force it into human life when you could communicate with it and it could actually communicate with you? It has a full communication system in place already, and you just want to force it into doing what you think is communicating with you in a human way. And it's like you're just disrespecting the dog more and more and more the more these things progress.
Can we just appreciate dogs for being social opportunistic assholes for a second? Like, can we just appreciate them for what they are as opposed to what they potentially could be as a human? Like, it's so fucking crazy to me. Like, or like somebody the other day was on TikTok was like, dogs feel empathy, you're full of shit. And I'm like, that's a very complex feeling, is empathy. And that's a very complex thought process. Do dogs love? Yes. Do I believe that dogs come whenever you're laying down when you're sad because they love you and they want to cuddle you? Yes. Do I think it's empathy? I don't think so. I think it's love. I think it's that your energy calms down and they want to share that calm space with you.
Right. That's what I think it is. I don't think it's even love, to be honest. I think and I don't have a problem with saying it's love, because I like to think that too. It feels really good. But I think if we would be brutally honest about it, it's just that they enjoy the calm energy that you're finally giving off after being hectic all day.
Yep. And here's the thing. If the human takes comfort and solace in that, that's fine. That's great. But in the back of your mind, just understand that it's not what it is. And if you need it to be that, you need to go to fucking therapy. You need to go to fucking therapy if you need the comfort of a dog's unconditional love. Or like, I post these rehabilitation videos, and you know what everybody says? Everybody on these videos, and it drives me fucking nuts, is 1 or 2 things. See, it's not the fucking dog, it's the owner. And it's like, sometimes it's the fucking dog.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, oh, wow, see, all it takes is time and love. And I'm
just like, you just showed the dog get punished. There was no love there.
I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, time and love and patience. No, these dogs don't have that. And they don't have the luxury of time and patience a lot of the time. Like, that's why the pure positive approach is such garbage, because they tell you time and patience, but then fucking 4 years later, the dog's still biting. You know, like, dogs need to be fucking told what to do and what not to do. And of course, it's easier if you get the foundation set from puppyhood. Of course, that's fucking easier. And you have to use less discipline that way, dependent on the dog, dependent on what. If you get a KNPV bred Belgian Malinois, you're gonna have to punish that dog, right? like in some way, shape, or form.
I think a lot of what it is, like all of the things we're discussing of the people humanizing dogs, anthropomorphizing, whatever. I can't say that word, so I say humanize.
Forever, bro. It took me forever to say that word.
But like, of people thinking about dogs as humans and putting all these human emotions on them and the love and the empathy and all these things. I think a lot of it, what it boils down to, is a deeper societal thing of people using dogs to fill a gap rather than filling that gap themselves, and then appreciating the dog for what it truly is. Because if the dog is there to fill a gap and to be an emotional crutch, then first of all, you're just being unfair to the dog, because most dogs are not strong enough to do that.
Yeah.
And you're not also able to really appreciate what a dog could actually do for you, having a good relationship with it, because you're squashing it. You're putting all this human stuff on it and not letting it blossom as like the beautiful thing that it actually is. I love dogs because they're dogs, not
Right.
because they're like humans. I love them because of the things that are about being a dog, right? Everything about being a dog is what I love about dogs.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with what I love about humans. My
No,
love for humans and dogs are two different things,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's really like a deep underlying issue with all of it. It's why Purely Positive is so strong out there. It's why so many people are drawn to it. It's why people say that dogs have love and empathy and all these emotions, and why they want to be able to talk to their dogs in English with buttons. The underlying issue is all just that people are using dogs to fill an emotional gap instead of working on their shit.
Yep. And so the studies that have been done, which have been published continuously on Psychology Today, psychology.com, the emotion that dogs feel the least. So they cap out at about 2.5 to 3 years in comparison to humans, 2.5 to 3 years old. The emotional spectrum, the most advanced ones are at the 3-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
But think about a 3-year-old. Like, those are bastards. Like those are shitty little people. Like, for the most part, they're selfish. They're only out for what they want. And here's the thing: is that love was the emotion on the spectrum which registered the least. But it's still there, but it registered the least. And that's like where I always say with puppies are cute. They are not to love on. They are to teach. Once you have the dog that you want built out of that puppy, you can love, and you can do all kinds of shit. You can do whatever the fuck you want with your dog for the most part, as long as that foundation's in there first.
I'm curious, did you read the study about the emotions? I'm assuming you did, because you read these studies.
I'll send you the link afterwards if if you want to read it. It's pretty interesting. They did like electrodes on the brains and shit like that, and saw which things.
Was it? I'm just curious if it. I definitely want to read it, but I'm curious. Was it breed specific of which ones had a higher level of emotions?
No, it was just. I think they did it on rescues actually. I think they did it on, but I don't think it's. I don't think that anything is breed dependent except behavior, if that makes sense. So like, intelligence isn't breed dependent, so I don't think that the emotional spectrum is breed dependent either. I think that behavior, on the other hand, is genetic, but definitely not the emotional spectrum. I don't think. But I mean, if we're comparing my two dogs, we're comparing Wolf and Bird, right? Wolf is far more cuddly, far more affectionate. This bitch right here, she wants to go play. Like, she wants to go fucking play frisbee, and she wants to be left the fuck alone on the other side of the fucking couch at the end of the night. Y'all, I hope you're drunk by now, because I don't even know that I'm cursing. It's so bad.
Anyone who's actually following the game has either left, passed out, or is throwing up somewhere. I was talking to a client recently, and they were the kids in the family, who aren't children, they're teenagers, were kind of upset that their dog is not the cuddly dog that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
And I get that, like, letdown when that's what you want in a dog, but I also think that it's unfair when so many people get dogs without recognizing that dogs aren't there to serve you.
Right.
Like, they're just not. They're there to serve themselves. And if we
Correct.
bring them into our lives and we don't recognize that aspect, we're going to end up resenting them. It's just what's going to happen, because they're not going to just be there at your beck and calling, doing whatever you want, especially if you don't actually do any training. But even with that, they're not going to. They're going to want to do what serves them, what makes them feel good, what makes them happy, what causes the least amount of pain and most pleasure. And that's really what it boils down to. And if that means that they want to cuddle with you, they'll do it. If it means they don't want to and you're forcing that on them, you're being selfish, and you as a human should be able to step above that.
So there's an interest. I agree with everything that you just said, but there's an interesting comment here, and it's guess what I saw the other day? A Pure Positive trainer using an e-collar, right? So
I don't know why my comments on the screen are not coming up, but I have my phone open now.
So here's something interesting, and Katie said, by definition, not PP, which Correct, because it's an e-collar, but here's the thing, and this is always something that I fucking tell people, like, I use e-collars as a fucking positive behavioral marker for deaf dogs. Because if you find the low level, that, like, just a working level, right? That's not punitive. There's no concept between stim food and click treat. Conceptually, if you think about it, no pain's involved either way. I've seen dogs run away from this.
A dog sitting next to me who I clicker trained for a bit heard the click and looked up. So I looked to see, and he like.
So I've seen dogs run away from this, right? Because they were scared of the sound, and I've seen dogs run away from this also. So here's the thing: is that if it's all a matter of the association of these two things. So if I'm able to stim treat or stim treat, what's conceptually different? Nothing.
Right. If you take a clicker and every time you click it, you smack the dog, it doesn't make it purely positive.
Right. Correct. So this is why I use the e-collar because with deaf dogs, I mainly use like positive reinforcement. And so there, like, we're able to mark behavior through low-level stims, and the dog starts wagging its tail and shit. And that's work that's not commonly shown with e-collar trainers. And I think that that's something that, like, needs to be shown more. And I'm trying to make more of an effort to show the deaf dog e-collar work, because it's pretty amazing.
I've never worked with a deaf dog. I've watched a lot of training of them from different trainers because I just think it's a very cool thing to see. I've never worked with one. Would you never use vibrate with a deaf dog?
I actually use vibrate as the punisher
with the deaf dog.
Yeah,
right.
Because vibrate is so fucking non-desirable for a lot of dogs.
Right. So I've used vibrate as a punisher for dogs in general. I have not deaf, because I never worked with a deaf dog, but I've used it occasionally but I've always found that it's good for like a one-off punisher as opposed to something that's, because they get used to it fairly quickly, and you can't go up, you can't go down. It's just what it is.
You know what's interesting though is that tone recall doesn't work with deaf dogs at all.
Well, okay. You thought you were going to get me on that one.
Just kidding, bro.
I'm sober. I'm not the drunk one. It's not going to work. I use tone recall a lot these days. I love it, actually.
Good stuff.
I've been doing it in the past 2 months with every dog as like one of the first things that they learn. And it's really cool, the different uses that it could have, besides just like basic, like your dog is far away and you press the tone and they come back, which that's awesome, because it's like a whistle, but even better because they hear it and no one else does.
Totally.
But it's also really cool for like if a dog is confused or nervous and you don't want to be using a lot of verbal talk, but you want to be able to just get them to move towards you and not be using stim for that.
Yeah.
The foundation of them understanding the tone is very good because it's very neutral.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't have any of the emotion that our tone of voice tends to have mixed in with it.
Because that's something that a lot of people don't even fucking understand. And it's like, everybody go to your dog that's in place. Don't look at the dog and just say your release command. The dog won't get off. Like my release command is always okay, right? So let's say I just stand in the kitchen, I'm cooking a fucking steak. I go, okay. Dog's not gonna fucking get off, please. But if I look at the dog and I go, okay, he goes, oh shit. Because it's all a matter of where I'm signaling and shooting my energy to, right? It's the same
context also.
Yeah.
Dogs do understand context. Like absolutely. I can say all my dogs' names right now who are sitting behind me. They're not going to get up. Like Marley, Mama, they're not going to get up because I'm not talking to them.
Right. They get that. But there's also something that's super important, which is the engagement of the eyes. Like that's why teaching a stay command like this, stay, is so fucking stupid. Sorry, guys, you have to drink again. It's so fucking stupid because that's the most uncomfortable thing in the entire world. If some creep was looking at me going,
yeah, I'd back up. It's so much pressure.
I wouldn't stay. I'd be like, fuck you. I'm getting out of here. I'm grabbing my gun. Like, what the fuck?
It's just what people miss a lot of again, because we're humans, right? So I think as humans, we communicate a shit ton non-verbally, right? I know we do, not just I think. I know it. We communicate with our energy. We communicate with our body language.
98% of our communication, because I took communications in college, is 98% is nonverbal. Think about that. Think about that.
But a lot of humans have kind of, it's okay. You'll only hear dog. This is what I realized. You only hear dog trainers call people humans. When was the last time you ever spoke to a friend who's not in the dog world and they called people humans? Right? That's not a thing. So humans, people communicate like so much non-verbally. 98%, you said. I'm not as smart as you. I didn't go to college. I never took communications. I don't know this shit.
I dropped out.
What?
I dropped out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so me too, but a lot earlier than college. So, but I think that a lot of people have used verbal communication become a crutch, right?
Yeah,
because we're so not in tune with like the other communication, and people don't realize how much they're using it, that they rely on verbal communication so much. And then when it comes to our dogs, where they don't do verbal communication at all, like it's very, very, very minimal, like a growl, right? But it's very minimal what their verbal communication is.
Right.
It takes a lot for a lot of people to be in tune with. Now I'm being so conscious of it. To be in tune with like the whole other parts of communication, the energy, the body language, the spatial pressure, the social pressure, all of that is communication. Larry Crone said we should call them mortals. It takes people a lot to be in tune with that stuff. I'm just trying to get one fucking thought out.
Everything that I'm a part of turns to shit. Like
if I say fuck, it's 5 shots because it's not as often as yours.
Let me actually go grab my liquor real quick. You're in charge of entertainment. I don't know what the fuck you're gonna chug, but happy Jew year to you, brother.
Yeah, happy Jew year to you too. What up, guys? Who's in the comments? I can't even see the comments on the screen, so I'm looking at my phone, so I'm assuming I missed a lot of them. I don't know what's with the system over here, but I hope you guys are having fun wherever you are. Everyone go get your if you're drinking, go get it. If you're not drinking, don't worry. You're just as cool as me. Not as cool as Jonas, but you're just as cool as me because I'm not drinking either. I'm going to ring in the New Year's sober and drink my water and enjoy it. What was I saying? Communication. I just think it's so important for people to be in tune with the other types of communication that exist. Like I know for me, with working with dogs has helped me be in tune with the other levels of communication that exist in general, which has helped me with my people skills.
It's been
because now when I walk into a room, I can feel out a room better. I can feel out the people better. I can feel where I fit in better. All of that stuff that's really important, because with dogs, that's what's important. And if you want to truly be able to communicate with dogs, not with buttons, but actually communicate with them and to understand them, you have to have that. You have to be in tune with that. You have to be in tune with the pressure, the energy, the body language, all of that stuff that's actually much more powerful than all the verbal communication.
Oh, spatial pressure, body language, fucking way more powerful. Like nonverbal cues, so fucking powerful in dog training. And I think that a lot of people overestimate the amount of movement, actually underestimate how important movement is in dog training in the initial phases of training a dog. Like your movement is way more crucial than the shit that you say. And the way that you live with that dog is way more important than the shit that you say. Your movement is everything in dog training. And like, that's why like when you say place and they don't go to place right away, but you motion towards place, you send the dogs towards place, like it's so much more powerful for them because it's clarification. And then it's a matter of repetition to where I can look at my dog and go place, and she walks all the way across the fucking room and goes to place.
I think that so what I've been doing a lot recently, because I'm constantly experimenting and trying new things with the dogs I work with and trying to evolve to get better at what I'm doing and to hopefully get better results and happier dogs and better dogs and all of that. But something that I've been doing a lot recently with a lot of the dogs that I work with is the first 5 days or so. My program is 3 weeks, right? So for the first 5 days or so that they're with me, I don't use commands, but I have them do the behaviors.
Sure.
So I'll come in the house after a walk and I'll put them onto place. And if they get off of place, I'll pick up the leash. I'll put them back onto place.
Power of routine.
And I teach them all of the behaviors that I want. Down, sit, place, kennel, everything without using words for it. And then 5 days in or so, I'll just throw all the words in, and it's so simple for them. They get it like this because I'm just like, by the way, that behavior that you've been doing for 5 days, from now on, I'm calling it place. Right?
Do you know what you're doing with verbals? You're doing the same thing how I train e-collars, which is overlaying. You overlay it. That's it. That's fucking it. And it's the same concept, and it's beautiful, and it works because actually pushing the dog through the motions and the routines of things is so much more powerful than like trying to lure or doing all that stuff. Now, if we have a puppy, I'm not a big fan of dragging a dog onto a place cot. I actually like think that you should get a dog naturally onto a place cot, lure it, do whatever you need to do, and then you can attach a leash and you can start doing whatever it is. But I actually learned that from Larry Crone because, and this is something that I got to give Larry credit to. He said something where it's like, he said, you shouldn't be paid for something a client can do. And I was like, that's a really interesting concept. So I started so we made 2 big changes in the board and train program for me this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I want to know what they are.
We made 2 huge changes, and like legit, anybody out there needs to put this into the board and train program. We do a standard 3-day decompression, and then longer if the dog needs it. Before we even put a tool.
Before going further, yeah. I understand what you mean by decompression because we've talked about this at length with a lot of the dogs I've worked with.
Yeah.
Explain to people what you mean by that, though, because I think a lot of people have different ideas of decompression. Like, I've seen rescue say decompression means let the dog do what it wants in your house for 5 days. So, like, you got to explain what you mean by that.
Decompression is breaking a dog's routine down into its bare minimum essentials, meaning eating, potty, and fucking crate. That's it for 3 days. And the reason for it is because you want to get the central nervous system to reset. It actually boils down, in my opinion, to a physiological level because anxiety is a conditioned state in dogs, which is predominantly caused by an overly stimulated central nervous system, the same way that it is in humans. The first thing that we do with an overstimulated human is having a panic attack and they go seek medical help. We put them in a fucking non-stimulating environment and we let them decompress. That's decompression. Anything that's like, let the dog do whatever you want, and that's not decompression. Decompression is keeping the dog in a calm state for an extended period of time, period. And it's crazy because whenever people train with...
I think because we've spoken about it at length a lot, and I've used it for all the fearful and anxious dogs that I've worked with in the past 6-7 months. But I think a very big part of it from what I've seen is not even necessarily, well, the calm state happens eventually, but it's the main thing is taking away as much stimulation as possible from them.
Yeah.
Like sometimes even kenneling them separate from other dogs, letting them completely like have nothing to think about whatsoever. Just settle the whole system down.
Just chill. Just fucking chill. And most people are like, well, I want my dog to have fun. Well, it's like, sorry, dude. Your fucking dog doesn't know it just got rescued. Your fucking dog doesn't know it just got adopted. Your dog is fucking throwing and cycling behavior, trying to see if the shit sticks to the wall. So
you added in decompression.
No, decompression has always been a part of it. But during that decompression phase, we added something in. And it's something super simple. And it's something that should have been in there from the fucking get-go. And it's fucking hand feeding. And so we added hand feeding in. For all dogs. So we were hand feeding fearful dogs before anyway, and that type of deal, but all dogs are getting hand fed now. The amount of success that just comes by really drilling in that yes marker, like it's just crazy. And we also added in 1 more day of long line recall without any e-collar over it. And like, I'm telling you, man, the results are just crazy, 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 crazy good.
And
what's that?
Do you use decompression for all dogs or only the fearful, anxious ones?
Every single dog. Every single dog. It's part of the program. Now, if a dog comes in that's like super stoked and like super eager to learn,
right, like a happy-go-lucky one.
Yeah, and we see no anxiety in the dog, we can start training the second day, but we're going to bond first and hand feed and get a bond going because. I started to realize over the last 2 years that once you bond with the dog and you have a bond with that dog, the dog will take, if you need to corrections much better from you because dogs are emotional beings. And like the more that you can use their social opportunism in your favor, like let's and what I mean by that is since dogs are social opportunistic, if you can give the dog the illusion of free will enough to get the dog to think that what you want it to do is in its best interest, the dog is going to comply quicker. And like that's with a bond established through food, through walking, like whatever it is that motivates that dog, where you can utilize the social opportunistic tendencies of that dog in order to further your training and to cultivate the concept of training within that dog much quicker, because you're getting the dog to believe that acquiescing to what you're telling it to do is in its own best interest.
I think I don't know if it was you or Danny Wells or both of you, or I don't know what you guys do with how you come up with your ideas together, whatever you guys do together. But one of you, between the two of you, I heard say that it's basically giving the dog how did he word it, or you word it? The idea of free will, the illusion of free will, right? And that's really what it is. The dog thinks that it's choosing to do these things on its own. It thinks that it's choosing to be with you. Really, you're kind of manipulating it into it.
Absolutely. And I heard Danny talk about that a few years ago. And it really opened my mind to that concept, right? Like to that concept of, if I can get the dog to believe that it's making its own decisions in regards to its own best interest, I'm using its natural wiring in my favor and not against the dog, but I'm using its wiring in my favor at that point, which is powerful, man. That shit is powerful. And like dogs resonate with you at that point. When dogs understand that everything that's in their best interest comes from you, whew, shit fucking opens up real quick. Like the sky is the limit at that point.
Yeah, I speak to I've been doing a lot of puppy FaceTime sessions because everybody got puppies and I can't take them all in, and I do a lot of FaceTime sessions. Cheers. So I do a lot of FaceTime sessions with puppy owners, and something that I tell everyone, because I think if you start this from puppyhood, it's the best way to go, right? Where all the resources in the dog's life are controlled by the human. So it doesn't mean you don't give your dog toys or you don't give it freedom or you don't give it love or whatever it is. It's that the dog should learn that it all comes from you. Because once you get that, then anything you want, you can teach the dog so easily, because everything in the life comes from you. It's like you become God to your dog. Every single thing comes from you. So you're this amazing, powerful thing. And of course it's going to listen. Of course it's going to want to be with you. And when you have to punish it, it's going to be so much easier and not mess up the relationship at all. It's not going to, because the dog already knows, like, it's fine, you punished me, but you're also the same person that gave me every single thing that's important to me. Like, you even, like, I think of it even as controlling, like, when you control a dog's bathroom time, even that small level, even that is part of it. I think every aspect to it. That's why I tell people, don't let your dog, especially a puppy or anyone you're struggling with, don't just open the door to the backyard and let it go pee. Put a leash on, take it outside to the bathroom, even if it's cold and raining, and be a part of that experience with your dog. Let it see that it comes from you.
Absolutely. And a lot of here's a lot of shit, like 99%, let's say 90% of dog issues that owners are having in the home can be resolved by putting the fucking dog on a leash until the dog doesn't have the behavioral issues anymore. Yeah. Like, too much freedom causes chaos. Too much freedom too soon causes chaos. And that's like, it's like what I'm trying to get across to people is that it's a lot easier than you think it is. Like it is. It's a lot easier. Like, behavior is a little more complex, but training a fucking dog, we have a bunch of people who want to sound so fucking smart with their pseudoscience terms, confusing the shit out of everybody, when it's just as simple as this. When you do something good, you get rewarded. When you do something bad, you get punished, and that's the fucking end of it. And that's the golden ticket to training a dog.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing that it boils down to. There's almost like, by making dog training have some like mystique to it, that it's like this hidden secret, people can continue making money. And it's like, you'll still make money. Dog trainers will still make money. Always. But if we also show people that it's not, I don't have magic, you don't have magic. Right. It allows the owners to see that they can do it too. If you make it seem like it's some hidden secret that only you can do because you're a dog trainer and you're a dog whisperer and you have magic, then even after board and train, they're going to feel like failures. They're not going to be able to do it right. You got to show that it's regular. You got to show that it's simple and boil it down to the simple terms. Like I don't ever talk science with train owners. I don't care, and they don't care either. I've yet to ever ask a client, have a client ask me to show them a study, right? Then they don't care. Right. But they want to know like how to understand it in simple terms without having to become a dog trainer, just what to do. And it really does boil down to very simple things. Like give your dog some basic structure and routine and predictability, 100. Reward good behavior, punish bad behavior, and enjoy life with your dog.
It's really that easy. Like, and obviously like play isn't like enjoying life. Like that includes the concept of play.
Yeah. And that's why I say it like that. And you and your dog should both be enjoying each other's company, right? That is the definite important part of it. But it's like the reward and punishment part has to be made simple for people to get.
If you're not enjoying your dog, you're doing something wrong. Like that's what I always say. And it starts with the way you live with your dog. And that's like, the more and more I do this, the more and more I realize how simple it is and the more frustrating it becomes for me. Because the way little things like, let's say the dog is laying in the hallway. I'm going to walk through that dog. I'm going to make that dog move for me. Like, move. Most people will walk around or step over the dog. That's a little thing that you can change today and tomorrow. That's going to have a huge impact in your relationship. If I get up from my fucking seat on the couch, you know who goes and sits there? My dog, right? Little asshole wants my seat because it's of interest because I'm sitting there. But when I come back, I don't sit next to her like where she was sitting. Her ass fucking moves.
Right.
Nah, I gotta.
Like that's an important one, I think, because it plays into the social hierarchy that people don't want to talk about, but it plays into the social hierarchy that exists in dogs naturally, and they don't have conversations verbally about it. They don't sit around the boardroom table and decide who's in charge. They either
about.
I know they have buttons. They sit around with buttons that they press. You gotta make a meme with like Bunny and all of his friends sitting around the boardroom table pressing buttons, fighting over who's president.
Oh, it's like a little Sons of Anarchy table, just like fucking like dogs with buttons.
Yeah,
making decisions on the MC. Yeah, for sure, that's it.
But like it's the social hierarchy aspect of it, right? That people a lot of times don't like to talk about. I don't know why, really, because it's such a natural, normal thing that exists everywhere. But people don't like to talk about that either, that it exists everywhere. But but like the whole if you understand that that's very real and you understand a little bit how dogs do that, it is with social pressure and spatial pressure. And like I heard a long time ago, I'm pretty sure it was from Blake Rodriguez. I want to give him credit for it because I think it was from him and it's something I use all the time. But if you walk into like an office space, right? And it's a typical American style office. So there's 40 cubicles. And then there's 2 offices at the end that have closed doors and are at least double the size of every cubicle. Everyone knows right away that those offices are the CEOs and whatever else they're called in corporate businesses, right? No one needs to tell you. They don't need a sign on the door. You know, because they have more space.
Correct.
They have a door that closes so that they're in charge of their own space. Correct. If you want to go into that room, you knock on that door or you wait for an appointment, even if it's an emergency. Correct. And if you knock and you're not given permission to come in, you don't go in. Correct. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you're sitting by your desk and the CEO wants to see what you're doing, he doesn't knock on your cubicle wall. He walks in and looks over your shoulder to see what you're up to.
That's exactly
right? That's a social hierarchy right there. Absolutely. And it's known. Everyone understands it. We can walk into any office space and feel it right away and know it.
Correct.
It's literally the same thing as controlling a dog's space. It's why it's so important to control a dog's space. Correct. Because we bring dogs into our home. We're like, especially with rescues, but we're like, you'll never have any pain again. This is all yours. And the dog is like, fuck yeah, it's all mine. Get out of here, bitch. This is mine now. Right?
The dog doesn't even remember that it had pain.
Right. And then we wonder why is this dog having all these issues? I just gave him a whole house. It's like, well, because you gave him a whole house.
Yeah.
So of course he's going to tell you what to do now.
Listen to the verbiage. Why is the dog having all the issues? I gave him a whole house. You're like, yeah, you gave this dog this house. Like you literally gave him all this space. Like even
and it's all space. So Mama Bear is a very good example. Mama Bear, my pit. Mm-hmm. So when I I recently posted a little bit of her story, so a lot of people know it. But when I first got her, she was found, and this isn't the rescue made up story because it was actually me and a friend, and we found her. Well, someone in the neighborhood, but she was found in a construction site. She was dumped. She had just had puppies. She was still open from giving birth. She had milk coming out of her. I'm not trying to get hero credit. I'm just giving you the story.
Sure.
And she was very sick.
I'm writing you $100 worth of hero credit right now.
Well, like, I hate sharing the story because, like, I'm not like trying to do that whole rescue thing. I just want to share to get the idea. And she was extremely traumatized. Like, she clearly went through a lot of shit, and she was shut down to the world. She would literally go into a corner and put her head against the wall when men would walk into the room, or anyone who was slightly bigger or had a bigger energy. So even females, but mostly men. And she would just go into the corner and put her head in the wall and shake and cower, right? It was very sad to see. When I brought her home, obviously we took care of medical stuff immediately first. But once, like, the medical stuff was out of the way, her life consisted of going into a crate, going out of the crate, going to the bathroom, going for a walk up and down the block or square block, going back into that crate, and then slowly giving her place time, and then slowly building on that. That's how we got over her fears. There was nothing else to it. She's not on an e-collar. She's not trained. I haven't trained her whatsoever. She just, I controlled her space in a very, very strong way. Yes. And that was how she learned to trust me. That was it.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You break the dog. So, like, you don't break, but you break the routine down into a bare essential format to where it becomes very predictable for the dog. And then you add in variables slowly in regards to fear rehabilitation. So that way you're not taking the predictability factor out of it. You have to the dog has to relearn how to live at that point.
I think a very big part of it that, like, I learned this through that experience, because nobody was telling me what to do with her. I had no idea, and I didn't have trainer friends then. It was just, I was doing what I felt was going to work, and it did. But
well, it makes sense, right?
It's a big part that what I like, looking back on the experience now that I do have a lot more information training wise, that I think helped with it was the controlling of her space. Besides for taking away all the stimulation and the predictability, I think it was also controlling the space so that she learned to respect and trust me through that. Right. Because I automatically became a leader by controlling her space. So she had every reason to follow and to trust.
Totally. Like, you were the reason why she came out of that kennel. It's huge. That's a huge thing for dogs. Food comes from you. All those things. Like, and fearful dogs, man, I fucking love working fearful dogs. I mean, it's sad in the beginning, but the breakthroughs that you get and the end result of fear is, to me, the most rewarding out of all dogs. So the fearful dogs that come out of their shell, you start to, like, perk up a little bit, and, like, I just love it. I fucking love that aspect of dogs, of rehab. If it's rehab, like, I think a lot of dog trainers use the term rehabilitation very loosely, and rehab means to return to a prior state, right? First and foremost.
James Penrith, is that his name?
Yeah.
He put up a post talking about rehab where I'm pretty sure it was him, where he was discussing this idea that it's not rehab if you're not bringing a dog back to a state that it was once in.
Correct. It's correct. And James is right in, like, all of the shit he says. So, like, the thing with I think Penrith is the best of us in regards to philosophical approach. I think he's amazing. Not just because he agrees with me on that, but like, rehabilitation is a return to a previous state. If the dog's always been an asshole, like, you're not rehabilitating the dog. You're just training the dog at that point. And I think that most people, in particular rescues, have a really skewed idea of what rehabilitation is. Like, and dog trainers as well. Like, if you fucking get a dog to a non-anxious state because you decompress the dog, that's not rehabilitation. Like, I don't consider that rehab. I think that is standard dog training protocol to try.
What do you consider rehab?
What do I consider rehab? I would say, let's say, fear reactivity, dominant aggression is genetic, but, like, fear reactivity, confirmed
fear reactivity that's not genetic.
Correct.
Because anything that's genetic, that's who the dog always was.
I'm not sure if fear reactivity can be genetic, but fear can be genetic.
Well, fear could, right? But I'm saying the reactivity is a part of how the fear plays out.
The reactivity is a part of how the dog starts to learn to cope with the fear.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense? And then there are dogs who are mistaken for dominant dogs, but they're really confirmed fearfully reactive. And what I think that means is that dogs that have become confident in reacting aggressively in response to being fearful, but they're confident in their response, right? I think the definition of a dominant, of a genetically aggressive dog is a dog that seeks conflict. A dog that seeks conflict. So what I consider rehabilitation would be a dog that comes from, let's say a good home, gets rehomed, goes into a fearful state, and then goes back to a normal state. That would be rehabilitation. I think that rehabilitation comes with a little bit more complexity than just decompressing a dog. And I think behavior comes with a little bit more complexity than just decompressing a dog. While yes, you are modifying behavior to a degree, but the conditioned physiological state of anxiety in dogs, because it plays off the central nervous system, is not something where you're actually working behavior so much as you're working the physical body. If that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah. But so would you say that a dog that goes through that decompression that was once, I'm just kind of challenging you on a little bit, because I'm not sure if I fully understand or fully agree with how you're saying it, because you have a dog that was once not fearful, right? Now became fearful and or anxious, right? And then goes through serious decompression, adds structure into its life, gets predictability, and is no longer fearful and anxious. That sounds like a level of rehab, because it was once not fearful, it became fearful and anxious, and now it's not.
But you're not working drive. You're not working any sort of drive or what the dog wants or like that type of deal. You're not motivating the dog. All you're doing is pushing the dog into a relaxed state.
That's right, but according to your definition of rehab, which
I know what you're saying,
the dog from that was in a healthy state, then unhealthy state, and then back to healthy.
I don't think anxiety is how do you put it? I think anxiety is a response to a physical condition in dogs. I don't think that it's a behavioral condition in dogs.
So, how do you differentiate the two?
Very easy, by an overly stimulated central nervous system, because I've decompressed aggressive dogs before and they fucking came at me out of the crate. So
right. I understand that. So that would mean that it needs a deeper level of rehab.
I think it just needs rehab. I don't think it needs a deeper level of rehab. I think the basic element of dog training and understanding a fundamental core of what dog behavior entails and how the dog actually works wouldn't if you just acquiesce to what the dog actually needs. I don't think it's rehab. I think you're just achieving the dog's needs and giving the dog permission to act normal at that point.
And bringing it back to a stable state.
Bringing it back to a stable state, sure, but it's not based off of behavioral work. It's based off of a physiological component regarding the central nervous system being destimulated,
So might there be two different types of rehab? Behavioral rehab and then the one that you're calling physiological rehab?
No, I don't think it's physiological. There's physiological rehab in regards to...
You understand what I'm saying? Because based on your definition, that's what it sounds like.
Yes, but the thing is that it's not behavioral. While the symptom is behavioral, it's still physical. So like, you're not going to go see a therapist for syphilis, right? Because syphilis can impact you mentally.
Right.
You're going to get onto medication for that. So it's an ailment of a physiological root first and foremost. It's not truly behavioral. And that's where I argue a lot of these rehabs, because like, I think it's a physiological root in anxiety in particular. I don't think that getting a dog out of an anxious state is rehabilitation. It's dog training 101, because you have to know how to prime the mind to take commands, because an anxious dog is very hard to train. Right. So you have to know how to prime the mind. So you're taking care of the physiological, the physiological root where the symptom is actually the problem. But I mean, syphilis is a really fucking crazy analogy, but like, if you think about it, the behavioral impacts that can happen off of syphilis or rabies, for instance, right? That's a physiological root, but the symptom is... So you can cure a dog from anxiety. I don't think you can rehab a dog from anxiety. I think rehab if we're talking about behavioral rehab, I think it's very, very, I think it's more complex than just decompressing a dog.
Right. I understand that aspect of it, that there's a lot more complexity to dealing with real behavioral issues versus dealing with anxiety or fear. I get that. Maybe even fear and anxiety are separate in this one, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Fear is a lot more intense than anxiety. Anxiety could be solved much easier.
So anxiety can lead to fear.
Right.
But they're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
You know, like I've seen confident anxious dogs, fucking for sure. I've seen insecure anxious dogs and things of that nature. I just believe that anxiety is a physiological root. And
so why are you the only dog trainer that I've ever heard? I've spoken to you about this idea a lot, right? And it makes a lot of sense to me because the reason why it makes sense to me is because the way that you deal with anxiety is by, well, a very big part of it is that decompression, is that taking away the stimulation, is that just bringing all the stimulation levels down, and all of a sudden it settles in, just like how you would with an anxious person, right?
Correct.
So to me, that makes a lot of sense. Why are you the only dog trainer that ever says that, though?
Because I'm me.
No, I'm being real.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Have you heard other dog trainers speak about it in this way? I haven't until you and I started to really get to know each other and talk dog training a lot. Like I never heard it in that perspective.
I think it's because I tend to go deeper in on it, and because I don't believe in paint by numbers, I try to find things that make more sense to me. And I do so much research on let's say the correlation between aggression in humans and aggression in dogs, or anxiety in humans, and because we're still mammalian, and we still share something, which is our central nervous system. And not that theirs is the same,
right?
But why am I the only dog trainer that you've ever heard say that? I don't know, but all I know is that the dog trainers who I have been lucky enough to have as students who apply this conjecture.
That's the first one. That we're raising it up to 6 shots because that was the first time you said it.
Who apply this C word is they become widely successful in what they're doing, and that's enough proof that I need personally. So while I've had trainers be like, no, it's garbage, that's rehab. I just don't think it's rehab. I think it's standard 101 protocol and a very basic understanding of the way canines function from even a non-behavioral standpoint, but getting to understand that physiological stimulation can lead to behavioral or troublesome behavior. It's just like when a dog goes into drive and we give a high-level stim on an e-collar, that's a physiological stimulation that can amplify that drive at that point. So how we treat the body is almost directly reflective of how the mind turns out to be. And this is where I become very abstract in dog training. This is where I become very abstract in the way that I go about things, and which is what makes me so different. And people either dig it or they don't. But I get very deep into the philosophical aspect of dog training. Not sure if you read my post, but I believe that because we're so focused, because dog training as an industry is so focused on results, I believe that we tend to forget that future is a non-existent concept, and therefore the results in the future actually are a non-existent variable, and that we should be living in the moment with our dogs in order to make as much progress as possible and make the most out of every single step we take, even if that means we take it literally.
Right. We had this discussion about a post that I put up a while ago.
Yeah. Yep.
And do you think that there's a very big level of a very large amount of dogs living in our typical American life who all have anxiety, even if it seems to be overexcitement and other things?
I think
sorry, I just want to finish the thought. I think that I've seen dogs. I've been to Ukraine a bunch of times. I've said this on my podcast so many times because it's a very cool thing. I've seen dogs that live a much more natural life, where they live outside or they live in the woods with other dogs, and they come out at night or whatever to get some food from the human area, but they live a more natural life. And all those dogs looked, and I don't mean just like they look different because they're all a bunch of mutts, but they looked different. Their body was more relaxed. It was looser. Their ears were looser. Their face was looser. There was a very clear energy difference from those dogs than the average American dog. And I think a very big part of that is because our lives are not meant for animals. Like it's not meant for people either. Like our modern way of living, it's crazy, right? We have lights on when it's nighttime. We have TVs playing all the time. We have stimulation coming at us in every possible way at all times, 24 hours a day, even when we're sleeping, the stimulation. And for dogs, that's even more overwhelming than for people because they are much more connected to nature than we are just naturally, because they're supposed to live in the woods with other dogs in a very non-stimulating environment, right? There's a reason why when you go for a walk in nature, you automatically feel more relaxed, right? You're returning to this non-stimulated environment that's more natural for every being, essentially. But for dogs, where they're even more inclined to live that way versus our way, this life that we bring them into is just so overwhelming that it's almost impossible for them not to have a level of anxiety unless we do a shit ton of work to work them through that, to make it a little bit easier on them to deal with the stuff we throw at them.
Unless we do the work to understand how we can give them that simple life.
Right.
And that's something that if it comes to place command, for instance. And actually, SD Schmidt here said something very, very interesting. It's structure and obedience versus rehab. And that's exactly, I think SD just nailed it. What I was trying to get at is that structure and obedience will absolutely quell anxiety, right? Like, no question about it, because it's a conditioned state. And then rehab is like, you've got structure and obedience training, which is not behavior modification, but you're going to get a calmer dog out of it anyway. I just hate whenever trainers think that obedience is behavior. And that's why I have such an extreme view on it, because obedience is not behavior. And it's now, can certain commands in obedience be implemented in a protocol to relieve behavior or like to ease a certain behavior? 100%. 100 fucking percent. But with clients, for instance, I'll say, how upset would you be if someone came into your fucking house and said, hey, all your bills are paid for the rest of your life. Sit on your fucking couch, relax. You get to exercise, relax, and eat. That's your life. And I'll take care of the bills. Whatever you want is good. I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm down for that. That's the place command to me. That's like, that's what structure and protocol is to me, is like really giving your dog the life that you would actually want. And, Dylan Maxwell Blau actually said something really interesting. And he said, we should be humanizing our dogs more. And at first I was like, this guy is fucking full of shit. But then I fucking understood what he meant. Cheers.
Cheers.
Then I understood what he meant, because it was in response to my post, which was, we say our dogs are our sons, are our children.
I just wrote a whole nice post about this.
Yeah. Like, we say that, but we, as a society, chastise a parent who doesn't tell their kid no.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so maybe we do need to be more anthropomorphic towards our dogs. And maybe at the end of the day, we just have this weird Disney Fantasia 101 Dalmatian approach to dogs, where we think they're all virtuous just by nature.
Well, the issue, the way I look at it, the issue is not humanizing, it's infantilizing. It's treating them like forever infants, right? That's really the issue, because we do have, as much as we have so many differences, we actually have a shit ton in common with dogs.
Sure.
So much in the way we interact socially and everything, right? So many things that we can relate to dogs. It's why we're attracted to them. We see ourselves in them to a certain extent. And if we look at it in a true humanized way, right? Like, a good example that I use with every client. If I walked into your house and I took my shirt off, took my shoes off, put my feet up on your dining room table, lit a cigarette, and just started relaxing, you'd probably throw me out of your house pretty quickly, right?
If it was you, if it was you, I'd probably join you. I'd be like, hey, give me one of those.
I knew where this was going as soon as I started it.
Like, you've got leeway in my life, bro. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, you're the rescue that I fuck up.
Right? But those boundaries you'd set right away.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the real point of it. There would be no issue with setting boundaries. Or like, if somebody touches somebody that you love, someone touches your girlfriend, your mother, your child, like you're not going to ask them like, please don't touch them. You're going to make sure they understand that is never going to fly again.
Correct.
Right? Why? Because there's boundaries that you set immediately that are natural to all of us.
Correct.
And it's what keeps us working as a society, what keeps us living with each other, hopefully in a healthy way. But with our dogs, we throw that all out because we treat them like babies. It's this whole thing that this is my fur baby, this is my forever baby, this is my rescue baby, I'm a fur mom, all of that stuff. But if you're truly a fur mom or a fur dad, like, then treat your dog like you would your child that's completely disrespecting you, right? Yeah. That's beating people up in school, that's being a bully. Like, I would hope as a good parent, you wouldn't let that shit fly because you want your kid to grow into an adult that can function in society.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that it's one of those things that I'm just starting to realize more and more. And it's that we don't really humanize the dog. We fucking have this wild fantasy about how great dogs are. Or like this wild fantasy about how dogs should be treated. We have this wild fantasy that dogs love us unconditionally. It's just not true.
Right.
Just not fucking true. And I know there are going to be people who hear that. They're going to be like, my dog loves me unconditionally. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. You love your dog unconditionally and you would like that in return. And if you want to believe that to give yourself some comfort in your psychologically broken state for whatever you fucking need, then by all means, believe that. But just know that at the end of the day, if you're not meeting your dog's needs for the most part, the dog's instinct will take over to survive. If, let's say, you die and no one's there to see you, your dog will eat your body eventually. 100%.
Yeah, what else is it supposed to do? It's hungry. It's that simple. It has to survive. What it really all boils down to is survival, right? And there's different levels of how we can tap into that to make them want to be with us more, make them need us more, essentially. But it's not that it's making them love us more, it's making them need us. We're totally manipulating the hell out of them.
That's exactly.
I think it's okay to, because I like to believe my dogs love me. I think it's okay to believe that, right? But be real about it at the same time. Believe that because it does make you feel good. But at the same time, also be very real with yourself about it so that you can actually get the most out of that love that you want between you and your dog. Because you don't get that much out of it when you treat that dog like a forever baby. Eventually that shit wears off and your dog hates you.
I correct. And so I made a post on TikTok where I said, fucking most dogs are miserable. And like, I genuinely believe that most dogs are fucking miserable. And like, people lost their shit, man. And they were like, what? How's my dog miserable? And I said, cool, let's do this. Let's do a stupid TikTok post, 5 fingers up. Right?
You're doing all the trends.
Yeah. Like,
you do dances? You do these?
Yeah, I don't do the dances. I'm practicing the shuffle right now. I will debut that soon. But like, it's just one of those things where it's like, cool, let's do a 5 fingers up, right? And my 5 fingers up was, are you a good dog owner, right? This is all I put up was, is your dog crate trained? Does your dog walk nicely on the leash? Does your dog go to place? Does your dog recall off leash? Does your dog listen when you say no? Those are the 5 things that I said make up a good dog owner. People lost their shit. And they said things like, why does my dog have to be perfectly trained for me to be an owner? And I was like, that's not a perfectly trained dog. That's a fucking quintessential basic foundational education. That's kindergarten, right? Like, which is enough for most people. It's enough for most people, like for the most part. But people were like, no, what makes a good dog owner is unconditional love and veterinarian care. And I was like, why the fuck is veterinarian care? Like, no one in society looks at a parent that goes, well, you know what? They don't let their kids just fucking die, so they're a good parent, right? Like, that's an implicit fucking thing that you should do, is take care of your child's health. It's fucking implicit. It's the way your child acts that determines your judgment as a parent for most people, right? So why is it different for dogs again? If there are fur babies, people lost their shit.
My friend Angie, who trains, she lives in Vancouver, Canada. She just literally right before we started this podcast, she sent me a message because I put up a post today. It's basically, I was in a pet store with a dog. It was from last year, and I just put it up again because it's a funny meme. But basically I was holding a betta fish and I have a dog sitting in front of me and I'm in like the aquarium area of the store. And I said it, treating your dog like a human is basically the same idea as taking your goldfish for a walk.
I saw that. I fucking died laughing.
Right. So she saw that and she immediately sent me a message. She was just in somebody's house that, this is quoting the owner, has 3 rescue chihuahuas and a rescue betta fish. And she had each of the dogs had their own room with their own TV. And the betta fish had an iPad set up in front of it so it can watch Finding Nemo because that's what fish like to watch. And this was legit. I was like, if I didn't really know you and trust you, like she's a good friend. If I didn't really know her, I was like, you're making this shit up, right? And like, this is the extent that people are fucking taking it. And you know, it's crazy. Like, I'd rather hear about whatever the dog's name is, Bunny pressing buttons, than you're watching Nemo. Like I had no words.
It's like fucking putting on Homeward Bound before you go, right? Like it's just like, and I love that movie, man. Like I fucking love that movie. When Shadow gets left behind, man, my fucking heart breaks every time.
Of course, that's the idea.
Yeah, but that's also part of the problem, right? It's like when Old Yeller gets shot, you hear the fucking yelping. When they leave Shadow, you hear the yelping, like that type of deal. Like you hear all these different noises that dogs make, and then it psychologically impacts you because you've made an association through media. So there's so much that goes into the way that we perceive how dogs actually like react, and like how we perceive behaviors exhibited by dogs based on like what we were exposed to and what we watched as fucking children. It's insane. Like
I wonder if, I'm just thinking about it kind of out loud, but I wonder if I think about it differently because I didn't grow up with all of that. So I didn't grow up with television. I didn't grow up watching movies. I had no internet in my house as a child. I didn't grow up with any of that. And I'm just thinking like out loud, I wonder if that's part of what led me to feel very differently about dogs than a lot of people in society, because I didn't have all that early.
100%, brother. Like 100%, because I think that the amount of media that we take in and the way that dogs are presented in the fucking media is so like perverse. Like there's a fucking what is fucking herpes medication? Valtrex. There's a fucking Valtrex commercial with the fucking dog pulling on a fucking leash in the Valtrex commercial. And so that psychologically impacts people who have an HSV virus that's fucking active. They see that and they go, "Oh shit, that's great. Valtrex works for me." I get cold sores, right? So that's why I'm saying this. Like I have herpes on the lips, and I don't fucking care. So like I get cold sores on the lips. I take Valtrex and it fucking takes care of it. But like,
and your dog pulls you on the leash.
But yeah, and my dog pulls me on a leash, and I think it's okay because I take Valtrex. But like those are like the psychological layers of classical conditioning, which like are completely inadvertent here, completely inadvertent. But they've just become such social norms that we take them in, and because we see dogs misrepresented in the media in different ways all the fucking time, it's so hurtful towards Canis lupus familiaris, which is the scientific classification of the domesticated dog.
Stop trying to act smart.
I mean, I am smart, but like it's just like one of those things that kills me, because the dog is an incredible animal. Like the dog is, in my opinion, a miracle, and the dog is one of the purest creatures alive because they don't fucking lie to you. And we do the dog such a disservice by making them into perfect humans, right? Not humans, but we want them to be perfect humans, that we discredit what they are naturally, which is just a pure being. It'll bite you if it doesn't like you, and it'll like you if it likes you a little bit, like it's neat. It's a really neat animal.
It's it's fascinating how the media uses literally, like we were saying before, how similar we truly are to dogs. The training that the media does to us, we're talking specifically with this, but probably with everything. But the training that the media does to us to make us think and feel a certain way is literally how dog training works, right?
Yeah.
It gives you this emotional hit. It makes you feel either really good or really sad, but something emotional when you see that dog die, or when you see that. Why did they throw that dog into the commercial? It has absolutely nothing to do with whatever the Valtrex is, right?
It's a pandering to emotion.
Right, exactly what I'm saying. So it triggers you. And when you see the dog, that's why you buy the medication. You don't give a shit what they're saying in the commercial about the medication.
Correct.
Like, it works. You said it works. Great. But the reason why they throw that in, this is a paid ad.
Valtrex, everybody. Keep your shit herpes free. You're good to go.
To Jonas. That's going to be your next, like, taking dog training industry out of the norm and getting sponsored by them.
The booze is kick. Yo, I'll be the only dog trainer ever sponsored by a herpes medication. Like,
it's like the Harley Davidson thing's not really like going so well, so like switch to Valtrex.
Yeah, the Harley Davidson, herpes Davidson. Like, we'll fucking way better.
But it's like they throw it in. You see it in dog commercials where they have a dog sitting by the car with the family. Subaru, I think Subaru is the one. They always have the dog hopping into the trunk, right? Mm-hmm. It's that emotional hit that makes you get it, that makes you actually go and be like, I actually want a Subaru. And like, you don't even fucking like Subarus. You're a Jeep person because Jeeps are cool, but like, you go get the Subaru because the dog hopped into it. Right. And it's really, it's very similar to what we do with dogs training wise, right? We give them these emotional or these quick hits of like dopamine and things to make them feel good about certain things and then feel less good about other things. And then they start playing into our game and living the way we want them to live.
Correct. It's fucking amazing the way that it fucking works and the way that it trickles down. And I just triggered some fucking lefties, right? Like the fucking trickle down. Like, shut the fuck up. I didn't mean it that way. Y'all fucking calm your fucking liberal asses down. It's the fucking trickle down effect of fucking like conditioning in this situation. And I'm a firm believer that the way we treat our dogs is a matter of conditioning, because when look at my mother, like as an example. First of all, she's beautiful. You can look at her; she's beautiful. But second of all, the first dog we ever had, dude, my mom kept that dog in a fucking cardboard box with an open fucking like lid, right? Limited that dog's space except potty and that, and carried around a fucking newspaper. And when that dog like did something bad, she whopped it with a newspaper, right?
Used a bonker.
Well, yeah, basically a bonker.
Abusive as fuck. You should have that dog taken away from her.
Poor Jeff. But like,
was this in Germany?
Yes. So, but we raised this dog in New Mexico, like when we got here.
Okay.
And the next puppy we got, because of all the pure positive shit that came out, right, in the media with treats and all that shit, she didn't do any of that shit, and that dog ended up being a fucking monster for fucking 4 years, right? And like Daisy, who was a Cocker Spaniel fucking Lab Beagle mix, was great. Raven, who was a Lab mix, was a fucking nightmare. Like what does that tell you in regards to how they were raised? Consequences and a limited space and setting boundaries were far more effective. Am I saying go beat your dog with a newspaper? No, don't. Like it's unnecessary. But I'm just saying that the concept of that works far better. And then the media influence of like the pure positive shit and like all this garbage ruined my mom's next dog. Truly, truly did.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to see. When I started getting into training, I remember my dad, he was very interested in what I was doing, and I have very supportive parents. I love them. They're awesome. You guys are probably watching, so you guys are awesome, and I love you. Although they probably stopped watching 2 minutes in after you started talking. That's the truth. But I have awesome parents, so shout out to them, because I wouldn't be who I am without them.
Shout out to your parents.
But my dad was asking me about what I was doing. Like, he's like, when with our dog, I never had to e-collar train it. We barely ever had a leash on it. He followed us down the block. He just knew not to go upstairs. Yep. He knew not to go on furniture. And I think a big part of it was like, yeah, this was a long time ago too. It was like 50 years ago when you had that dog, and the whole world thought about dogs differently then.
Yes.
So disciplining a dog wasn't a bad thing. Like, you didn't see it because like my grandfather probably didn't want the kids to see the dog getting disciplined, because they didn't want to see it, and they didn't have tools to do it in a nicer way. So they probably did smack the dog or kick the dog or whatever was done. But the dog knew, because boundaries were set from day one. And it was lived with in a way that it just made sense. It was treated like a dog, most importantly. And so the dog lived like a dog, and it just understood what was expected of it because it was treated like a dog.
Right.
Now we go the opposite. We bring the dog into our house with all the media influence telling us like that everything like we just discussed is bad. So people are scared to do all of that stuff. They do the total opposite. They set no boundaries. They treat it like an infant, and then they try to go work the like retroactively adding all that stuff in once, and then they struggle a lot because you're going to struggle when you take a dog that's had everything in the world handed to it, all the freedom, and then you try to take that stuff away from it and work through it. Of course, you're going to struggle. Like
Or
it's
you
such
put
a
a
different
correction in
perspective
place.
how it used to be.
It's mine.
Sorry.
So like 3 years of no disciplinary action on the dog, and then you start to put a correction into play, the dog's going to lose its fucking mind.
Yeah.
Because the dog's way of coping with the environment has completely been taken away from it. You've taken a dog's coping strategy away at that point. When you take a dog's coping strategy away, you've taken predictability out of the environment. When you take the predictability factor out of the environment, a dog is going to develop some sort of anxiety, period, because we can't predict the environment. But that's where pushing through is the most important thing for people like us. Like we can't acquiesce to that sort of fucking behavior. We have to push through. We have to push through.
I relate to the the whole coping aspect of it. I did see that comment about the homeless dogs. I do want to talk about it because I have seen that a lot.
It's amazing. It's like let me just like homeless dog ownership is incredible. And like while I don't condone like homeless people having dogs, but like
some of those dogs are probably a lot happier and more satisfied with life.
Bro, I saw a dog in the downstay on the middle of a median in the middle of traffic in a fucking while the owner was panhandling, and the dog was just fucking laying on its side, sleeping, traffic going by.
I used to go to a ton of music festivals and concerts, and there were always the road dogs that these hippie music people, whatever you want to call them, that they owned, the dreaded white people, and you know dreads.
Yeah.
Okay, you just looked at me with a blank stare.
It's because I'm getting drunk. It's because every time I've said fuck, I drank half a bottle of Jameson and I'm already a quarter of the way through with this one. Like
you're the only one keeping to your own drinking game.
Well,
every time you want to shout, you're just like fuck.
If that's not the fucking story in my life, like me.
So I used to see these dogs, right? They were road dogs, and most of them were raised on the road. Like they were puppies. They grew up on the road in RVs, on trains, just traveling the country, going to festivals and concerts, and their owners would sell their wares, whatever they would do to make money to get to the next show. And these dogs generally were some of the best behaved dogs that I've ever seen. And they were in the most overstimulating environments. Yes. They were at festivals where everyone's wearing crazy clothes and doing drugs and being fucked up, and everyone, they're at concerts with loud music and all that stuff. If you took any of my dogs to that environment, I have fairly good dogs, I think, they'd lose their shit. Like that's not a normal place for a dog to be, but these dogs were raised in that. It's part of their life. It's just regular to them. And the owners just live with them. They just exist and they migrate together and they travel together and they do things together. I didn't see those dogs being like hugged and pet and cuddled and mushed all day. They were with them. It was just a part of life. And it was actually a really beautiful thing to see these dogs. I think it's really great. And you see a lot of these dogs, like you said, they're holding down stays for hours. No one really taught them down generally. I don't see these like hippies or homeless people putting in hours of obedience work with their dogs. It just doesn't, I don't think that's what's going on. Nope. The dog lay down because they're sitting down. We're not moving, so let's not move together. It's just a pact.
It's the way they live with their dog.
Yeah.
It's the way they live with it's so powerful, which is why like whenever people ask me, and I'll be very legitimate here. They go, "Did you train your dogs?" Like to a degree, but my lifestyle facilitates the dogs acting how they act, predominantly. And whenever Katie Breslin was on your podcast, I said something in the comments, which I still stand by, which is dog training is for clients. And like proper dog ownership is what's gotten my dogs to be where they are now. Like, does that include training? Yeah, sure.
To a degree.
Yeah, but like I've never taken Wolf out. Wolf, for those of you who don't know, is a Siberian Husky, and we practiced 100-yard downstay, right? But he does a 100-yard downstay, and I know he does it because we've done it in a football field. I can get him to go down at 100 yards away. I go like that, just with my hand. Boom. He goes down at 100 yards and waits for his.
You're a dog whisperer.
I'm a dog whisperer. I'm a fucking. Oh God, I can't stand it. Fucking makes me like so pissed. But the thing is, why does he do that? It's not because I'm an exceptional trainer. It's because he knows from the way we live inside the house that he doesn't do shit until I say it's okay to do shit. And that can translate eventually through lifestyle. I take my dogs a lot of places. So of course, like, it's going to translate through lifestyle. Dog training as a concept. I mean, Malcolm, have you put any of your dogs through a 3-week board and train program?
No, I never worked with a trainer in my life.
No. Like, you haven't even put your dogs through your program.
No. Well, Marley, I was my dog that I was experimenting with to just whip his ass into shape because he was a bad dog and I didn't know what I was doing. So he got the most training of any of them.
Right.
But like Hendrix, when he came home, Hendrix is e-collar trained and he knows things. Like if I tell him to go to place, he knows place. He knows these things. But really, he just came home and I was like, this is how things work in this house. Welcome home.
Right.
That was really what it was. And that was it was a very different thing by the time I had him. I had so much more knowledge that it was just like, this is how we live here. In this house, you listen to me. In this house, you follow the rules. You follow directions. You don't go crazy. The first thing that ever happened with Hendrix when he came home was he got punished for barking in my house. That was how we started our relationship, and that was how everything changed, because he was a total ass. He was a crazy, typical young golden retriever. It's why I got him, because great, purely positive trainers diagnosed him as having neurological issues. So he couldn't be owned by his previous owners. So I got a beautiful, purebred golden retriever who's smart as fuck. But
he's adorable, bro. Like
you. I love him.
It's fucking awesome.
He's awesome. But yeah, like him I brought him home. He barked in the house. He got punished for barking. Cheers. I said, this is the rules of the house. We don't bark here. And in that moment, everything changed. He looked at me differently from that day, from that moment on. I think that's what a lot of it is. If there's preset rules that the dog comes into the house, and then, right, just like you walk into certain people's houses and you see all the shoes lined up and everyone's like, do you want me to take my shoes off? Right? Because you see that's the rules of this house. So like, let me respect the rules. If you want me to take right? Yeah, it's the same thing. If you have the rules already set and then the dog comes in and then he just like, hey, welcome home. This is the rules of this environment. It makes so much sense to the dog. They have no issue taking to it because just like, oh, this is how things go from now on.
Correct.
And that's not, like you were saying, that's not training. That's lifestyle. This is how we live together. I try to talk about that a lot with my clients and on my posts because I don't really care ultimately if a dog knows. I mean, I care. All my clients should continue using place, but I don't care if a dog knows place, right? Sure. I care if a dog can chill and be polite. If the way to go about that is to use place, then fuck yeah.
Sure. So that's a great point. And it's like, here's the thing. Dogs who just chill and are polite, we don't get in board and train programs, right? Like there are dogs who are just lived with properly who don't need these type of protocols because they're lived with properly. And it's so like a lot of people always ask me like if my dogs are on prongs or if they're on e-collars. They're not. But the thing is that I'm a dog trainer who's been doing this since I was 8 years old, right? Like my clients are not dog trainers. In fact,
they shouldn't have to be in order to own a dog.
Correct. And most dog trainers haven't done this since they were 8 years old. You know what I mean? So like, it's like one of those things where like I see so much elitism coming from dog trainers where they're like, well, I don't need to use a prong. I don't need to use an e-collar. And it's like, great, but my fucking clients do. And there's a thing that I wholeheartedly believe in, and it's that clients' needs over my ego. If it were up to me, I would send every dog home with nothing but a martingale collar and a fucking leash, and that'd be the end of it. And all my clients could learn how to use body language and pressures and that type of deal very, very quickly.
And a lot of dogs will get rehomed.
A lot of dogs would get rehomed, and I'd have a lot of bad reviews.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about what I want. It's what my clients need in order to have a sustainable relationship with their dog. That's where I have to put my ego aside because ideally for me, coming from a pure positive side of things, because that's a lot of people still don't know that, is that I used to be a pure positive trainer, is that I would like no tools to be used personally, but I see the benefits of it for my clients. That's the fucking thing. And that's where I have to put my ego aside and go, all right, well, we can save more dogs this way. We can save more relationships, owners' relationships with their dogs with this tool usage. But I'll fucking tell you one thing, man. The true training doesn't start until the go home session, right? Like that's when shit starts to hit the fan. That's when shit starts to like really start to happen. And to me, there's nothing that I take.
You do go homes in the client's homes, right?
Yeah,
me too.
Yep. So like, and for me, there's nothing more tumultuous and stressful than teaching a client how to use a fucking e-collar. Like, because I take it so seriously, because the tool is such an intense tool, right? Like, teaching a client to use an e-collar, like, I've thought about phasing e-collar out of my program, not because it's a bad tool, but just because, like, I don't want people to misuse it, to that degree. But like, we're adding a whole nother, like to my board and train program, and like another couple sessions for e-collar exclusively, because it's such a sensitive tool. And I really think we have to start taking more responsibility as trainers who are using e-collars to make sure that our clients are well equipped to handle such a tool. Because
what are you doing to change that? Like with your clients, I'm curious.
So we're doing 3 hours at go home, which we've gotten at feedback being information overload, right? So we're adding another go home session and then weekly maintenance sessions on leash, unlimited for the rest of the clients.
Like your group events.
Yes. But what I'm doing is I'm adding an e-collar class to that afterwards. So basically, I'll be on Saturdays maintaining leash and e-collar for all my clients for free for the rest of my life, or for the rest of their lives and my life, because I have to make sure that I'm taking responsibility for their usage of that e-collar. Because if one of my clients lights their dog up inappropriately in public and they say Jonas Black fucking said this was okay, it's my ass. It's my ass. So I have to make sure that they understand the proper usage of that tool. And I think that that's where we as a balanced community have to come together in regards to making sure that our clients are well educated. Because I see a lot of trainers being like, here's a 1 hour session. Here's a little manual. Fuck you. Thanks for your $3,000. I'll see you later. Right. We should be offering a continued maintenance for that dog. We should be offering a continued maintenance for that owner. And like, if you're not offering that, I think you need to get out of the industry, because you should want every dog of yours to be the best fucking dog that owner has ever had, not only for your credibility, but for them, for the dog, dog. And on top of that, maintaining your dogs for free is the best word of mouth you can ever fucking have.
Yeah, it's not. It always, in terms of like business wise, it always pays off, right? Like I think we've had this discussion before. So there's a lot of people who will, just business side of it, not even dog training, who will nitpick at every little thing and charge for it.
Yes.
Right. Whereas I don't do that. Like if I have a dog that needs, I know that there are people who will charge for a vet visit if the dog is with you. Not having the client pay for their dog's vet needs, but if a dog was with you and needed to go to the vet, they have a vet charge for taking the dog to the vet.
Sure.
Right? And they're charging because they had to take the dog to the vet. I look at it as, first of all, there's an animal in my care that needs to go to the vet. It's going to the vet.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, for me, that's like, okay, obviously, like if there's a child in my care for some reason, it's going to the doctor if it's sick. Right? But like business side of it also is that so many people don't realize that you're now just ending it at that client. It's great. You could make that money, but you're ending it right there versus like, what's the ROI of that? Well, fuck your ROI. It's going to come back in 10 years from now when I get 3 more referrals, or when their daughter's dog comes to me, or whatever it is.
And that's exactly it. So like for me, I normally tell my clients, hey, if it's like the dog that licks a hot spot, you know, that's on the fucking dog for the most part. But I have never in my I've had 2 broken legs. No, I've had 1 broken leg, and I've had 1 fucking canine get knocked out when the dog ran into my house playing fetch. And like, dude, like it was a fucking well, it was a Vizsla named Rika ran to the side of my house. That fucking tooth came out. She's squirting blood. We went to the fucking vet right away, and the vet's like, oof, because we had to reconstruct the entire upper palate.
Damn.
The entire upper palate. It cost me like $4,700. I took the loss on that board and train, not because like I'm this like fucking righteous motherfucker, but because like I want to make sure that balance trainers are represented properly. And then when I hear of companies who are leaving golden retrievers in cages who are fucking like who like they're fucking
No names.
no names. I know.
I'm just reminding you because you've drank a lot.
I have, but like I still respect your rules because I'm a man of integrity. When you get companies who fucking get urine scald on the back of dogs because they leave them crated, you know what's going to happen? It's not anything positive towards the balance community. It's going to be, oh wow, they use prongs and e-collars, and
they do that.
See, they don't care about dogs.
Right.
It is up to balance trainers to represent themselves properly in business and to make sure that every client walks away satisfied, even if you have to take it in the ass. Like, that's just the end of it. Because we've had this conversation a couple times, and like I've taken it in the ass so much, like unwillingly.
And you love it.
Like non-consensually, like I was not looking for prostate stimulation, like whatsoever. But I did it for the industry that in which we're involved in because we use these controversial tools. And then I see companies not following that because they don't take it fucking seriously. They don't have the level of integrity that somebody like you, me, Larry Crone, Danny Wells has, like James Penrith. And it hurts my heart because it shows that there's ego before the client going on there.
And it's also like, are you in it because you care about dogs, or are you in it for some other reason? And you got to be
okay. Interesting argument here, right?
Well, I think. Sorry, I think it's important to be in it for two things: be in it for the dogs, be in it for the owners, and both of those are equally important and actually work very well together. Because if you're truly in it for the dogs and you're truly in it for the owners, you're going to do the best for both of them. They're both going to be ultimately most successful.
Yes.
You're in it for anything but those two. And obviously you should be making money if you're a successful trainer. But if you're in it for those two things and really in it for those two things, that's how you will make a shit ton of money doing it.
Money will be a side effect.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because you're in it for good things. I think in general in life, when you do really good things really well, you have a side effect of a lot of good things coming back to you. Call it karma, call it whatever you want, call it fucking business. That's how it works. You don't become successful financially just by being an asshole. It doesn't work. You could have some of that, but you got to have something good too.
So I have a question for you. And this is just playing devil's advocate here, right? Like you did it with me earlier. I'm going to do it with you now. Do you value dogs or do you value dog training?
I value dogs, but I think dog training helps dogs.
Correct. So let's say you have a client who says, if I can't see progress today on this dog, and let's say it's just for shits and giggles, let's throw the situation that I was called out for, right? So let's say it's this dog gets euthanized after you leave if I don't see progress. The dog has bitten. The dog is aggressive. What do? Do you say, well, I'm going to honor the code of dog training and make sure that we take proper format and protocol? Or do you do everything you can in that moment to force the dog into a state where it won't bite?
You're saving a dog's life.
Correct.
Like, I don't understand. To me, it's not a question. To me, it's not a question. Life or dog training, life comes first.
Correct.
Like,
correct.
That's, to me, that's a simple answer. And I that's why I was with you on that whole thing. I saw everything that went down. We weren't really friends yet, but I watched the whole thing quietly. And I think it's absolutely insane for anyone to say that they care about dogs, but put some sort of art that you believe in so strongly before that. Because
Correct.
if art
Correct.
consists about dogs, which that's the art of dog training, like everyone likes to call it that. If this is an art of dog training, it's called dog training. Dog. That means there has to be a dog in order for there to be training.
There has to be a dog first and foremost to be trained, right?
You can't. If dogs are dead, then you're not training anything. Like, I don't understand. It's stupid as fuck to me, the whole thing.
Correct. So like in that situation, right? I agree with you, first off, wholeheartedly. I would rather shut a dog down and then rebuild the dog.
You want to give people context on what you're talking about with that dog a little bit? You don't have to say names, but because I don't know if everyone knows what you're talking about.
I'm sure that most people who are here don't know what I'm talking about. But so basically, like what it is I got called out for showing, and this is what I shouldn't have shown.
Right.
And like I've taken responsibility for that one. Is what I did was I shut a dog down on purpose to save that dog's life. Shut down means a dog that's non-responsive to the environment. It's a false positive. It's not a real result.
Right.
Right. So the pit bull that I was working with bit people, all kinds of shit. So I put the dog on a prong. I corrected the dog super fucking hard, shut the dog down, put the dog on a place cot, showed the owner I could walk by without the dog attacking me. Took the dog in, rehabbed the dog. Dog's happy as fuck now.
And the dog is alive?
Yeah, dog's alive.
Right? Not, first of all, who gives a fuck? Because the dog was alive that day, and it was alive long enough for you to then put in the work and work it through a process where now it's happy. I've seen it afterwards. You've shown me videos and pictures, right? Like, to me, people who have an issue with that shouldn't be working with dogs in general.
I agree.
Anything, whatever you're doing with dogs, you shouldn't work with a dog if you have an issue with that. It's the same issue that I have with purely positive, because you're so caught up on your techniques and stuff that you are willing to put a dog down, right? Yes. And putting a dog down is just a nice way of saying murdering an innocent dog, right? It just makes you feel better to use these random words, put it down. Like, let's be real about it. You're killing a dog. So if you're sorry,
they're killing the dog.
Yeah, and if you are able to sleep at night knowing that because your technique and your art of how you train dogs, it believes that it's better to put a dog down to kill a dog, and you shouldn't be having your hands on dogs. This is not the right thing for you to do. Get a fucking goldfish.
I'd walk that son of a bitch and let it watch Nemo, right?
Yeah.
But like, here's what I always say is that I would do what I did again if it meant that my business, even if it meant that my business went under, to save one more dog's life, to make sure that dog's life is fucking safe. Because I also don't know that tomorrow I get the opportunity to save another dog's life, right? Like, I don't know when my business is going to tank. We don't know that. It could tank any second. But like, I would do what I did a million times over. I just wouldn't post it online.
Right. And that was the mistake. I agree that was a mistake.
That was
you learned from it.
Oh, I learned hardcore from it. And that's something that like I always try to tell people that I'm mentoring or something like that, is that there are parts of the process that people are not ready to see.
Yeah.
And there are parts of the process that people who are jealous of you will exploit you for, right? So the trainer that called me out has been in the industry for fucking forever, and he calls out trainers with a huge social media following. And of course, he took this opportunity to fucking jump on me, and his hopes were that I would go and mentor underneath him. And the thing with that was that I've done a lot of good in my community. I've saved a lot of fucking dogs. It's the same thing with you, brother. Like if I had a problem with what you did, I would talk to you personally first, right? And be like, hey, why don't I come up to you? You come down here, we'll figure this out. So that way you can learn just what I do. You can take it or leave it, right? I would never call you out publicly. And because you've done so much good with your presence. And you deserve respect because of that. I wasn't given that opportunity. All that, and I've had a huge social media presence for a super long time. So like for me, it's like, because I was so disrespected with this, it turned me off completely to this person being any sort of mentor to me or any sort of teacher to me, because of the way that he approached me. And because of that, I learned, and now I'm launching a mentorship program in a couple weeks, and it's already like booking out like crazy. But I learned so much from that. And it's that how to approach dog trainers who can tighten up around the edges, who we can like fine tune like the nuts and bolts of things. I have a fucking mentor. I think Danny Wells is my mentor, even though he's my best friend. But I think he's a better dog trainer than I am. I think he's fucking great. He's so good at what the fuck he does. Like, he's so good at what he does. Can we learn from each other? Sure, but that doesn't mean that he's not better than I am, or like that he doesn't have more knowledge. I think he's one of the most naturally gifted dog trainers ever. But there will always be somebody better, and that's what we have to. Just because there's somebody better doesn't mean that you don't have valuable knowledge to give to somebody else.
So something that I strive to do mainly through this podcast that I've never said publicly. Cheers. It's my second bottle. I see I'm ahead of you. is and it's mainly through this podcast that I'm doing it, and I've never said it publicly, but I strive to break down the pedestal that exists in this industry.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's so unhealthy, and it stops us from learning from each other in a real way.
Yes,
and everyone has something to offer. The trainer who's been training for 6 months professionally and the one who's been doing it for 30 years, both have something to offer if you open your eyes and sit humbly. But if you put somebody on a pedestal and then they're the one and they're the only ones and everybody knows what I'm talking about, there's a lot of people out there that have been put on pedestals, and they might deserve to have a lot of respect because they've been doing it for a long time where they're really good at what they do. But don't forget that you can learn from everyone, and they should be learning from you, and you should be learning from them. And it should be a circular thing. It shouldn't be some sort of hierarchical thing that exists because you've been doing it for 30 years, because you who've been doing it for 30 years might miss something that you can learn from the person who just started yesterday because you're too high on your pedestal to realize that the person who just started yesterday has a gift, has something that they could do differently, knows how to do something differently, had a different experience.
Or they remind you of why you got into it. And that's something that's so important, which is why I love helping younger trainers and people who haven't been doing it as long as I have, because they still have that passion. And surrounding myself with people who still have that passion prevents me from becoming jaded. Because there are so many of us who've been doing it for such a long time that we look at this industry and we go, man, we're not making a fucking dent.
Somebody asked me if I have a mentor. I don't have a mentor, but I have 3 favorite dog trainers in the industry. So my 3 favorite trainers are Josh Hulbert. I can't pronounce his name right, and I feel bad for that. But he's from Josh and Julie's Canine, and I connect with him a lot in his style. Jonas Black, and myself. I love my training. I think I'm the shit. I think I'm really good at it, and I learn a lot from myself. So I put myself on a big pedestal, and I have a huge ego, and it feels good. But like in all seriousness, I don't really have a mentor per se, because I do try to learn from a lot of different people. I do try to learn from experience. I do try to learn from dogs, which I think is something that a lot of trainers have forgotten to do. Is like, you can learn from the trainer who's been doing it, but why don't you learn from the being at the end of your leash? Because they got a lot more to offer you. Like, they're the ones who actually taught us all of this. Duke, place. Go back. All my dogs are running around. Duke, place. Good boy. Lay down. I have this little doodle. Can you see him in the background?
He looks like a snowman.
He's the cutest little thing. And when I put a winter hat on him, which I do all the time, I put a little black beanie on him. He looks like Frank Gallagher. It's great. I posted a picture of him next to Frank Gallagher the other day. Like, it looks so good. I'll send it to you afterwards.
I appreciate being on that list. I just wanted just to give my like that shit like that humbles me like fucking crazy, and like I don't know where I took the right turns in my life, because like as I recall, I was the person who reached out to you at first, and I was like, I believe in you, brother. Like, you know, like I do that with trainers who are breaking into the industry that I believe in, and I really mean it. I believe in you, and like, you know, the fact that you come to me for advice sometimes, and not regarding dog training, but like just things in general, like it's super humbling, because you're such a person of high character, and I just appreciate it so much. And it's like, this might be the peanut butter whiskey talking, but like I love the shit out of you, and like I consider you not just like a dog training friend, but like a real friend, like a friend.
Thanks, man. I love you too. But we can't get too weird about it now. We're trying to do a podcast.
Take your dick out of my mouth here real quick and take
it. I just think that people are put on pedestals in general in life.
Here, let's just cry. Let's just fucking cry. Like, let's
do that for a little bit. Let's just sit and cry for the next 5-10 minutes because.
All right. What do you have? Cheers, brother. What do you have planned for the new year? What's your plans for the new year?
Like for New Year, as in like January 1st, or for 2021?
2021.
I'm going to take my business to another level that I've never done before, which is what I did in 2020. I was more successful in business this year than I ever was before. It's been a blessing. I plan to help a shit ton more people and more dogs. I don't like New Year's resolutions at all, so you're not going to get one of those.
Good. You should make one.
I like daily resolutions of trying to be a good person and do the best you could for the world and for the people that you care about. So that's what I try to do as much as I could. But on a serious note, I do plan to get in better shape. Like personally, that's what I'm working on a lot. Yeah. It's hard as fuck.
It's super hard.
I have a love-hate relationship with the gym.
But the more predictable it becomes, the more you love it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to go 4 days a week because I used to go every single day, and then I just stopped. So I have a real all or nothing personality.
Sure.
Because I'm an addict, and that's just the way I live my life. So I'm trying to teach myself to have like some balance when it comes to things like that. Because if I go all or nothing, like I literally went from eating really, really healthy, like no cake, no cookies, no pizza. I had no grains and no dairy. I was eating really good. I was pretty fit. I didn't have a belly at all, and I was also exercising. I had one slice of pizza, and that all went down the drain. Do you understand? This is not a normal brain. It doesn't work like
right.
So I had one slice of pizza that all went down the drain, and now I got a little belly to deal with, and now I struggle with like eating because I had one slice of pizza. I relate to dogs like that, and
for sure
I get it. Like
dogs
you break them and it falls apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm trying with fitness to not go the all or nothing route, because then I know I end up going from all straight to nothing eventually.
Well, you'll fail. It's because it's fucking unsustainable. And and the key to I mean, you fucking see it on my social media. I'm in the gym almost every day. Like
you're crazy with it. You're either in the gym or making TikTok videos. That's your life.
And then, like I'm either
and gym, tattoo shop, and TikTok videos.
So TikTok, tattoo shop, gym, or training dogs. Those.
I don't know about the training dog things anymore. I don't even know if you're a dog trainer at this point.
No, these two fucking assholes in my boarding room, they would make me a dog trainer still. But it's so the reason why I don't train as many dogs as I used to is because I give my trainers the work, right? So like, because I want them to make the money. But the way that the business model is set up at the moment is that like they'll train, and if my clients need more support after training, I'll take over then at that point. So my trainers put in the foundations, and then I take care of the education afterwards.
Yeah, you have a cool system set up.
It's really, really neat. It's like it's been a lot of trial and error and figuring out how to get the best possible results. And it really just comes with me being the support to my clients who've gone through the program.
Was it scary for you to hire? Do you know what I mean by that? Like as a business owner, like this is your baby.
So my first employee, the way that I hired her name's Whitney Barnes.
Mm-hmm. I know Whitney.
She's amazing. And my bitch, who's right here, Sparrow, she's one of the most complex dogs you'll ever meet. And whenever I picked her up from boarding from Whitney, she was mentally sound. And I was used to having to rebuild her afterwards.
So she was boarding with her before you hired Whitney?
Yeah. And when I got Sparrow back mentally sound, I hired Whitney on the spot. Because I was like, I want to teach you, you have a natural gift. Like, that's that. And so that wasn't scary. But I've been dicked over a few times in business. But the staff that I have right now with Caitlin and with Kelly and with Rachel, They are the most loyal people, and like we're keeping it at the scale where we're at the moment. We're not scaling larger, but I am opening up a Phoenix location in 2021,
Nice.
which is really exciting because I have 3 people out there that I believe that they came to my seminar when I did the seminar in Scottsdale, and it's Megan, Aaron, and Emily, and they are so gifted and so natural. So I'll be splitting time between Austin and Phoenix, and opening up the same format with the goal of those people in Phoenix to take over the business completely and just being self-sufficient. I just want to give people the platform to be able to do what I did for my life. They're amazing. And like, to answer your question, was it scary for me to hire my first employee? No, because Whitney was amazing.
Right.
Is it scary to hire employees now after I've been dicked over a few times? Yes, now it's more scary.
Like I want to I want to hire this year at some point, right? And slowly so that I can help more people and do more and grow. It's the only way to really do it.
Yep.
But to me, it's like thinking about that idea is scary as fuck. It's like
because
something I built. This is like I do it my way. I have my way that works. I'm able to be engaged with every single aspect of it. But at the same time, it's I have to do every single aspect of it, right?
So the key is to encourage the people that you hire on to find their own way in dog training. Like that's the thing that I'm learning, is that my way doesn't work for all people
Because it's you.
because it's me. And
Right.
like it's dog training, and you and I talk about this a lot. Dog training is so energetic, right? Like it's so like energetically based that you have to find your own confidence within your own person before you're able to train a dog. And it's so hard to see people find their own way that's not identical to yours. But what I had to learn to do was remove and I'm choking up because like I've seen so much success from my trainers in finding their own way that's not identical to my way. And that's why my heart has opened up so much in the world of dog training, because I've seen some of the most talented natural trainers who are working for me right now find their own way in this industry while taking the mentorship from me, but still making it their own. And like, it's been incredible to watch. And I never try to force my approach on them, because then I would be no better than, a sit means sit franchise, where it's like paint by numbers approach. Nothing against sit means sit or anything like that. I'm not trying to slander anything, but they have, a corporate approach to things.
Right.
Like I would never want that, because this is an art, and art can't be made standard. Art can't be conformed.
Right. I guess that is the beautiful thing about what we do, is because there's a lot of successful trainers, right? And if you put them all together and look at all of them, they all do things differently. They might have certain things in common in the in the system they use, or the approach, the basic approach, right? The theory behind it, but they all do things differently. And it's what I think it's a part of what draws me to it. And it's also something that I've noticed recently, because I do talk to a lot of trainers and I've gotten to network and meet a lot of awesome people, but a lot of people who are good at training, and this isn't to the people who aren't like this, you could still be good at training, but a lot of the people I've connected with that are good at training also are artists in some way or another, whether they're musicians, they paint, or they just have a very artistic way of thinking about the world. And I think that that's what makes them good. Also why I connect with them, because there's an art to this. And when you're able to find your way, right? Somebody who takes a Picasso and just makes a copy of it isn't an artist. They're just really good at making copies, which is cool. And there's a skill to it, but I don't know necessarily that they're talented artists.
Correct.
Right? A talented artist is somebody who can take inspiration from a lot of places and then create their own beautiful thing out of it. And I think that's the beauty of dog training, that part of it that I really connect to and love a lot, is I take inspiration from a lot of people from a lot of places, but I truly try very hard to put myself into it so that it's mine, so that there's a signature on it that's this is Russ's, and that's why I keep trying to evolve and make it better, because I want my masterpiece to look nice. I want it to look good. I want it to have a good feel to it.
I think you're doing a good job of that. I think there's definitely like a Russell Knockham like calm canine like signature to it. Like I think you're doing a wonderful job of that, and I think that that's great. And I think every trainer should strive for that, right? I see a lot of people who are coming out of, let's say like Tar Heel, Knee Popo, or like T3, or like all those things, who adhere to those values and only those values and don't grow within the industry or within the art. And that in itself is problematic to me personally, because I think that your own relationship with dogs is so personal. Just like you and I don't have the same relationship with dogs, or our relationship with dogs isn't able to be compared because it's so individual.
Right.
And like, that's why, like, for trainers in competition with one another, stop it, because you're going to have people that relate with you who would never relate with me. And I'm going to have people that relate with me that would never relate with you. But at the end of the day, we're both on the same fucking team. And that's why we're losing the battle. Our side of the dog training, balanced, is losing the fucking battle because the other side is so united. They love each other. Balanced hates one another. And it kills me, which is why, like, I don't want to be called a balance trainer anymore, because I just want to be called a dog trainer. Like that's all the fuck I am. It kills me to see so many talented people tear each other apart for no fucking reason. And like, we can all spot an improper prong usage from a mile away, right? Like, we can all spot improper e-collar usage, that type of deal. And that needs to be called out. We need to be policing our own. But when it comes down to it, you and I are on the same team, whether we do everything the same or not. And we have to start to understand that, truly. I wish that people who were more established veterans within our side would put their egos aside and come together a little bit more until we were safe. Because we're not safe. Because we're not safe. We're not safe. Our side is not safe by any stretch of the imagination. If prongs and e-collars get banned, I'll be fine. Slip lead, all that shit, like, no big deal. But
owners will suffer.
Owners will suffer. And I fight for my dog owners. I fight for my clients. Not for dogs in particular, but for the people who I've helped, because I love them. And that's fucking... I hate people. Y'all, for real, I hate people. I don't like y'all. Get the fuck out of here. But
do you think there's, like, I'm not talking about the purely positive balance battle. I'm talking about like the fight against, so we spoke earlier about how society and the media pushes this belief about dogs. Do you think there's any hope? Do you think there's hope against that? I'm really serious. I'm curious what you think about it. Like, you do a lot educating. I try to do a lot of educating. We try to use social media, create platforms to push out, but I almost feel like there's an echo chamber of like, you're talking to people who anyways believe your shit. Every so often someone's like, oh, I learned a lot from you, and now I'll use a prong collar. So it's like once in a blue moon. But most people who like follow balanced trainers, it's either because they're so far gone, messed up with the dogs that they just need help, right? So those are the ones who like get converted to understanding that dogs need more than just love. But I think the general population thinks that we're fucking crazy, and that I don't know that there's actually hope with it. Like, what do you think?
Okay. I like to use my two favorite like sagas as a fucking that's like an analogy to this. It's like, do you think there was hope for Frodo to destroy the fucking ring like against all odds? No, there was no fucking hope. Do you think there was hope for the fucking rebels to overthrow the Empire in Star Wars? No.
You see, you're talking to me. I have no idea what you're even talking about.
So, like,
you got to remember, I don't know this shit. Cultural references, like movie stuff. Shoot.
I think that from... Oh, man, you just brought up a topic that's really near and dear to my heart, because I feel like that I say Oh man, dude, you just fucked up. Like tears are coming. Um,
I knew it's gonna come eventually.
I'm gonna cry. I feel like that. Um, that sometimes like a lot of us who are on the balance side um, are afraid because we know the truth, and like I feel like that um, that a lot of the time it feels like there is no hope, and like that dogs are going to suffer because of it. But like the reason why I am the way I am, and a lot of people don't know this, but like I had a little pity girl named Honeybee die in my fucking arms because somebody wouldn't let me help that dog because they didn't believe in the way that I trained. And that's why I am the way that I am. And I will do everything that I can to fucking make sure that there is a slight amount of hope, because what's been tried isn't working. What's been done in our industry isn't working. We can't play nice. We have to fucking push back. And I think a lot of people are so afraid of losing their businesses and that they're afraid of losing the battle that they're so like caught up in that concept. But if we all just threw ourselves into the sun at the same time, we could black out the day. And like, I hope that one day, before it's too late, that that at the very least, that I can give a couple people that inspiration to do the same thing, to fucking just go at it. It's like Braveheart. It's like 300, right? You're facing the Ottoman Empire, but we're gonna fucking hold it down as long as we fucking can, even though we know we're
That
losing.
one I know.
Yeah. So it's like 300, man. Like we're holding it down as long as we fucking can, and even though we know we're losing, because we are losing. And
Why?
we'll go ahead.
What does this do to you? Why does it bring out so much emotion in you?
Because dogs saved my life, because I would have killed myself if it weren't for my girl. Because having to stand up as a leader for my dog saved me. It taught me that I was a leader. And that's why I take this aggressive approach, because I see no one else doing it and I see the results in it. And that's why, like, people are like, oh yeah, he's the fuck, like, I was called the Nirvana of dog training one day, and then I was called the fucking villain of dog training the next day.
I called you the Kanye.
Yeah.
And I still think that's the best one. It's the most accurate.
And I think that every one of us feels like we're charging into battle on our own. But like my goal is to make people understand that there's at least somebody behind them. And like, while we have such a differentiation in the balanced world between sport and pet, which is our biggest obstacle that we need to overcome, why I get emotional is because I've seen it's really not about dogs. It's about people. And like, I don't want people to miss out on the amazing relationships that you can have with dogs. And like, I kind of just like look at my situation and go, if this information wasn't out there, I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with my dogs. And sometimes it can feel lonely. And sometimes it can feel like we're alone in this battle. But I just like, everybody that's out there is like, you should know that there are two trainers talking right now who you can come to, who you can vent to. I can't tell you how many big names in dog training ask me for advice and ask me to not say anything. And I don't. If I wanted clout, all I'd have to do is publish my inbox. That's all I need to do. But I don't, because there's an honor to be maintained, and like we have to trust one another to do the right thing.
Do you feel that you owe something to dogs because of what they've done for you?
I owe something to the world because of what I've done to it in my previous state of mind. And like I owe something to myself, and that's to realize my potential as a human being. And it just I didn't want to be a dog trainer. Like, I didn't like I like y'all, like anybody listening, like I didn't want to be a dog trainer. I didn't want to do this shit, even though my whole fucking life people were like, "You're gonna be a great dog trainer." I was like, "I don't fucking want to do it, man. Like I don't want to do it." I ended up being a dog trainer. I wanted to be a rock star. Like that's what I wanted to be. I Do I feel like I owe something to dogs? No. I owe something to this sounds so cheesy. But I owe something to the greater collective. And I think that this is my role in the greater collective.
It's something much bigger than dogs to you.
It's bigger than dogs. It's an energetic field. It's an energetic realm. It's a spiritual realm. And like that's I don't think that my dog training is a gift to humanity, but I think that the intention behind it can make a difference. I think that my energy can make a difference, and I'm starting to realize that. And I think that's why, whenever I was being attacked, why the big names got behind me. I mean, I saw it happen. People who don't agree with one another got behind me. You know, if you're talking about Sean, Jeff, Larry, Chris, like all those people, like all of them got behind me simultaneously and fucking helped me. And like those people don't like each other very much. But they got behind me to help me, and I was like, fuck, like what the fuck is this? Why is like one of them would have been cool, but like all of them, and then like Tyler Muto on top of it, who I love. Like everybody played a huge part in my development this year. This has been the greatest year for me in regards to growing professionally, because I really realized what I'm supposed to be in this industry, and that's a uniter. Like that's a fucking uniter and a voice for those who are afraid to speak because they're afraid of the backlash.
What impact do you want to have on the world? Like you're saying, it's something much greater what you're doing, right? So what is it?
I want to bring joy. I want people to like. If my legacy is implicit, like the one in front of the X in algebra where it's just silent, right? Like where I can have that small impact where it sparks a new generation of just being better, then that's fine. I don't need to be regaled. I don't need to be regarded. I don't need to be acknowledged. The impact that I want to have is one of positivity. That's why I make my videos the way they are, like the prong collar video, right? Like where it's just like, you know, we throw some
I sent that video to so many people.
like,
who don't even have dogs.
like you know, like we throw some fucking BDSM in there, and like it's a presentation that's never been given before because everybody's been afraid to do it that way, right? And I just hope that the impact that I have shows people that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. They can be heavily fucking tattooed. They can have piercings in their face. That they can fucking like do whatever the fuck it is and still make it if they follow their hearts. That's really the impact that I want to have. It goes beyond dogs. It goes beyond dogs.
Damn. Got a little heavy. Cheers.
Cheers to you, brother. Cheers to you.
And what is?
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, I'm getting emotional, so like, it's time to call it.
Too much for you?
It's time to wrap it up, man. I'm ruining my reputation.
This is the real Jonas, everyone. It took about 2 hours till we got it, but I knew we'd get there eventually. It just takes time. Only those who really know.
and that's the thing. It's like you just nailed it. It's like, if you know me, you know me, and if you don't, you don't. And like, a lot of people are quick to judge a book by its cover, but if you take the time to get to know me, I think most people will be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. What does 2021 look for you? You asked me that question. So what do you see in 2021 coming for you?
So,
like, I know you have seminars planned. I know that there's a lot of things that because we've spoken and you kind of drop hints to people on social media.
The coolest thing that's happening is I got hit up by the talent buyer for House of Blues and Live Nation. And we're going to start a management agency for dog trainers and booking seminar tours with a professional booking agent who booked for like Ozzy Osbourne and shit. So it's going to be a really neat endeavor. It's going to be a progressive endeavor and perfect for post-COVID with a non-overhead type of business model. So that's going to be really, really cool. A lot of people will listen to the analogy that I'm about to say, which is like a record label for dog trainers, right? Which is like, we're a unifying platform for dog trainers to come under, and they're gonna laugh. They're gonna be like, "Oh, that's stupid," right? But fucking 6 years ago, I said I was gonna be the biker punk rock dog trainer, and I own $1 million company now. It worked, and this is gonna work too, and I'm very excited about it. And it's gonna allow trainers who develop a social media following to take the next step without knowing how to take the next step by coming into the company and by joining a banner where they won't be employed under, but they'll be managed under. We're going to be putting tours together, dog training seminar tours of like completely contrasting styles, anything from balance to pure positive together, and hopefully uniting a little bit more, which will be really, really neat. And then opening Phoenix, which is going to be really exciting for me because I have a staff out there that's just like, I believe in them so much. And just continuing to do the good work that we do in Austin. And at the end of the day, for me, continuing therapy, doing work on myself. I think everybody knows at this point that I'm fucking nuts, that I'm a bag of nuts. And like,
No way.
Really? Like, and I'm like admittedly crazy. And I think everybody knows that I'm an idiot savant. And like, like I think that most people know that. Well, I know that I have nothing to prove, but I think that most people know that, like, even though there may be like kind of like a hard exterior and like a really sometimes off-putting exterior, that my heart is good and that my work is good. And that's what's going to continue to lead the way. First and foremost is that good dog training. First and foremost is the welfare of the dogs. And then everything else has just been a side effect of it. So
I think it's really cool that when I saw you post about this signing with the House of Blues guy, I don't recall his name, but it was very cool to me because you probably remember, but a long time ago we had spoken and you said this idea that you had of signing with the record label and in my head I was like, all right, that's cool, right? But what's very cool to me is just in general, whatever it is, dog training or not, when I see somebody who has an idea, says the idea, kind of keeps it quiet, and then makes that idea actually happen, to me, that's one of the coolest things to watch. Like, I love it. Whatever it's in, because that's real. That's real shit. Like when you say you're going to do something and then you make it happen. It might not be exactly the way you said it was going to be 6 or 7 months ago when you mentioned this idea to me, but it became something. It evolved into something, and that it's actualizing. And like, that's real. Too many people just talk about ideas. Not enough people actually make ideas happen. And that's what I love. To me, that's inspiring, is seeing ideas actually blossom, seeing ideas that someone said actually become something.
It's just like, I love that. I love what you just said. But at the same time, it's like I'm putting my money where my mouth is, where it's like I want to help elevate trainers, right? And if I see people putting the work in, we're going to be approaching them and being like, hey, let's try this out. Let's get you onto a seminar circuit. Let's get you fucking paid, that type of deal. we're going to be entering different fucking markets that most people never thought to enter, like Comic-Cons, like fucking porn conventions, like that type of deal, because legitimately, like, dogs can fit anywhere, right?
Everyone has dogs, everyone relates to it.
Yeah, like with sex work, with like, and people go, bestiality. No, shut the fuck up. It's not fucking bestiality. Like you know, like, or like festivals, that type of deal. Like, fuck, if you go to ACL in Austin, there's a dog training booth. Ask free questions. People are gonna be there all fucking day.
Yeah,
and that's gonna be a huge fucking promotional tent there. So we're gonna be exploring the different venues, like modern fucking revenue streams, because like dog training has been so stagnant since like 89 and 90, where it's just stuck in this fucking bullshit fucking way, which is why, like, you know, when I got sponsored by Harley, I thought the industry would be like, that's amazing, and the industry didn't even acknowledge it, right? Like
who is this industry? This is the one part that I don't buy into. I don't like this thing that there's this idea of this industry. The people who support you supported you for it.
Oh yeah.
Right. I was like, congrats, man. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I can never get a deal with Harley. I'm not a Harley person. That's fucking cool that you did that. You're branching.
I said I can help you get a deal with Jeep, right? Like I want everybody to start branching out and partnering.
It's making it mainstream, because right now, dog training is like, especially what we like to call proper dog training, balance training, whatever you want to call it, right? But dog training is an echo chamber, because most dog owners don't care about it, even if their dog has behavioral
issues. About it, brother.
Right. And even if it has behavioral issues, it's like, yeah, but I wouldn't send my dog for training. That's crazy, right? Like, it's a foreign idea to most people, except for like dog people, serious dog people. But everyone is a dog person today. Everyone has a dog. Right. And if you make it more mainstream, then you actually will be able to connect with people where they're at, as opposed to trying to like lure them into this.
Exactly. And that's been my whole fucking play since the get-go, is that like, okay, like pop punk, hardcore, jackass type of like appeal to the people who I look like, right? Which is mainly like hipster tattooed people, right? Like that's where we have to go with this, is we have to take dog training into the younger hip markets, make it fucking cool. And I have the business model to prove it here in Austin. It's worked here, and we've changed the market completely. People come to watch the leash class on Saturdays. Like, people come to watch it because it's a fucking spectacle in Austin. If there's one thing that I want dog trainers to take away from this podcast tonight, is that you can do things huge. You can do things big. It doesn't have to be my way. Find your own authentic way to present it and do it huge, and believe in yourself and be epic and be fucking loving and be heartfelt and passionate about things. And I mean, Dana Walters in the fucking comments will tell you straight up, I'm fucking real brutal with my clients. But the thing is that like, it's necessary sometimes, and it comes from a place of passion. And in a world that lacks authenticity, when you're authentic, you stand out.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to get into dog training, because what do we have more than anything? And I was one of them. Dry fit polo, khakis with a fucking proper presentation. Be imperfectly perfect. Be who the fuck you are.
That's been the biggest lesson for me. And like, for me, dog training really took off in the past 2 years. I've been working with dogs for longer than that, but past 2 years is when like it really took off for me, and I really threw myself into it, and like trying to really build something real, right? And the biggest lesson that I've learned is that people are not attracted to you trying to be what they want you to be.
Correct.
They're attracted to you being yourself. And it was very hard for me, because like that's not the way of the world generally, right? It's not what you're taught. But like, I never did polos. I mean, I always like had my long hair and all that. So I never did the polos. But like, before I used to do videos, and this is going to sound crazy because everyone thinks this is just a girl thing, but I used to fix my hair. I used to put like gel in my hair to make it perfectly slick back, make sure my hair is perfect. Like, I wouldn't go on a video before doing that. And I slowly was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm trying to show the world who I am by showing them who I'm not. That doesn't make any sense. And the more that I and myself and share more of myself and show more of myself as much as I could in a meaningful and authentic way, which is going to be different than you, right? I'm never going to show up on a Harley. I would like a bike one day, but I'm never going to show up on a Harley fully tatted wearing like a muscle cut shirt. That's not me, right?
Sure.
If I did that, that would be fake. It wouldn't be authentic.
And people would see through that shit a mile away.
Right. It would be just as bad as wearing the polo.
Correct.
And that's the thing. It's like being authentic means being authentic like yourself. It doesn't mean being authentic like the next person. That's authenticity can't be faked. But when you're true to it, that's what people are really attracted to. And that's why they want to work with you or with me. It's not because it's obviously the dog training has to be good. We get that part. But there's a lot of people who are good at it. But if you're putting up a facade and then what, you show up to their house and you get comfortable and all of a sudden you're talking completely differently, right? Like
it's a turn off. Work. It's a fucking turn off to people because communication is 98% nonverbal, right? So we're going back to that. And remember the story of how I figured out that this is the way to go for me?
Yeah.
I didn't have my fucking uniform ready and I had to go. So I went the way I am. And I sold like $9,000 worth of training that day. And I was like, I've never done that before. Let's keep doing this. And that's why I encourage people who enter my mentorship program. The key is to find their authentic self within the industry, right? Like, because people entrusting you with their dogs are not looking for a fake bitch. They're looking for an authentic person who they're going to trust. And like, if I'm able to walk into a fucking like 65, 70-year-old person's house, win their trust by being authentic, anybody can fucking do this in regards to a business sense, right?
My friend Josh, the one who I mentioned earlier, so he said something that really made so much sense to me. It's so simple, but he was saying it to dog owners. Get to know the person training your dog, not the company, not the brand, not the business model, the person training your dog. And if you can't get to know them, don't have them train your dog. And on the trainer side of it, if we think about it, if we don't let them get to know us, I wouldn't ever leave my dog with somebody who I don't know.
Hell no.
I have very few people in the world who I'll leave my dogs with, and I know people, but most of them not touching my dogs, right? Like, and because I know them, but like, if you wouldn't leave your dog with someone you don't know, then what makes me as a trainer, you as a trainer, or anyone that wants to be a trainer think that the next person will? So if you don't let them see who you are, and it doesn't mean you have to like sit and tell your whole life story, although that's a nice idea to do, but like you don't have to. It just means showing up as you are, showing up with who you are. And that shows in the way you train dogs, in the way you write, in the way you take pictures, in the way you video yourself. It all shows who you are. And you can do a great job copying other people because that's easy, just like the Picasso painting that you can copy, right? But that's not art, and it's not beautiful, and no one connects to it. People connect to the artist who's doing something new and different. And that new and different is them showing themselves through their art, through what they're expressing.
And that's where this industry has been stagnant for a long time because no one has pushed it forward. And that's what I'm trying to do, is push it forward and stop fucking placating to the gatekeepers of dog training, right? Fuck them. Who cares? Yep. Fuck them. Fuck the industry. Fuck the gatekeepers. You know, it's like one of my good friends hit me up and goes, the way you're presenting yourself on TikTok, the older dog trainers are not very happy with you. And I was like, oh, the overlords of dog training? They can suck my fucking cock. Like,
10 shots.
like I don't fucking care about the overlords of dog training. You know what I care about? My clients, the dogs that I train. The industry, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about because it's all a bunch of politics.
And it ultimately doesn't matter in your success. It doesn't matter in your success. It doesn't matter in anything. The only reason why it matters is either you're insecure or that's how you get your ego stroked.
Correct.
And if you can, and both those things got to be worked out. If you're insecure, go fix your shit. And if that's how you get your ego stroked, you're probably insecure. So go fix your shit. Because
I do love getting stroked. I mean, I'm not gonna fucking lie.
I know that much, but get your ego filled by helping people, by doing good things, by making people feel good, by making people happy, by being authentic.
There's a healthy ego. It has nothing to do with power. And I think that a lot of dog trainers get into this because of the power that they have over another being. And like, it's so easy to call them out. It's so easy to fucking call them out. But like, you know, if the old guard doesn't approve of me, when their opinion is this, his results are great, we just don't like the way he presents himself. Okay, like get the fuck out of here. Like,
so I'm not representing you. I'm representing myself, so it's fine.
Nailed it. That's exactly right. And that's why I got called out by somebody earlier this year, because I've been more successful, turned down 2 television shows, when all they've been trying to do is get onto TV their whole fucking life. And like, I've turned it down because I have ethics, because I have a responsibility to not only my clients, but to dog trainers to show the process. And not to be like, okay, we won't show tool usage on Nat Geo Wild. And like, I know I'm not supposed to call out dog trainers, but like, I'll call out this guy. Fuck you, Al Roker. You're a piece of shit.
I don't know who that is, so I don't even care.
He was a weatherman, I think, on ABC, like who owns like an entertainment company. He did like Pitbulls and Parolees, and like, he was like super like interested in who I was as a person. And he's like, we just can't show your process. And I was like, later, you know. And then I started working with the producer from My Cat from Hell, Eva Mansell. And like, we shopped the Nat Geo Wild, and they were like, we can't show the tool usage. And I was like, well, I'm not there. Like, I'm not going to fucking turn my back on my clients or the dog training world. And like, a lot of people don't know that about me, like that I turned down those shows because I could be a fucking multi-millionaire. Like, I turned it down because of ethic. Because then I'd be doing disservice to my homie Nachum Russell. Then I'd be doing a disservice to my homie Danny Wells, because I'm not showing the process properly.
And ultimately a disservice to the people watching it, because then they think you're a dog whisperer. Then they think you have magic.
To dogs.
And then they feel they're hopeless.
Yes. And I almost value the relationships, the close relationships that I've cultivated with dog trainers, I value so much because they're so rare. It's such a rare thing to develop. Like, for me, a close relationship with other dog trainers. I think it's probably easier for you because you're so fucking cool. Like,
I'm so fucking cool.
Yeah, and just like chill and like whatever. Like, I'm a controversial figure in the industry, and people love me or hate me, but mainly the people that hate me have never taken the chance to get to know me.
Right. Cool. All right. Let's wrap it up. We've been on here for almost 3 hours.
Like, you and I can talk for those of you who don't know, Russell and I talk all day. Like, basically, Nachum and I talk all fucking day.
We sext a lot.
He's huge. He sent me a dick pic and I had to delete it because my phone storage fucking got overloaded.
Yeah, it was from that place picture. You know how many people were going nuts because I used that place picture for this thing? It was the best thing I ever did. It's like, fuck authenticity. I'm about to take one of those.
It ruined my last relationship, brother. Like, that
picture. Fuck that. That's some good marketing shit. Anyone who needs to know marketing, throw everything we said about authenticity out. Just go take a picture of yourself half naked laying on a place bed. It's the best move.
All right, brother. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Happy Jew Year. And I'll fucking talk to you on fucking Instagram like we do every day.
Happy New Year, everyone. I want to just wish everyone a Happy New Year, not just you. And I want to thank everyone who watches this, because I started this podcast during COVID, really in the spur of the moment, like without a lot of thought. And it's been very, very, honestly, it's very strange to me that people watch this. It's very weird to me that people listen to what I have to say or care about what I have to say. I don't know how to deal with it, really, and it's very weird. But I'm super grateful for it. I'm grateful that there's people in the world, all over the world, who are interested in hearing what I have to say and being a part of this community. And It's been very strange, and I don't have a massive platform, but the people who I do have, I appreciate all of you a lot. And I don't look at anyone as followers. You guys are a community, and I wouldn't have anything if not for the people in the community. So I love you all, and I'm really grateful for all of this. I look forward to an awesome fucking year with all of you, and let's grow together. Let's make this the best fucking year ever. And the year will not be fucking good if you don't make it good. I love you all. Peace, man. Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year.